Barnfield, if he would, to lead us in prayer.
Sure. Right. Then, Father, thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for this people up here that volunteer their time just to do what's right for the city of Goodlettsville. We just pray for everyone to just respect each other and their words and their tone of their words. We just pray that we listen and hear the will of the people. Lord, we just pray for our city, just to bless it and just to let us grow in the right way. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay. Adam, see there's like 9 items on the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
The only change to the agenda from when it was originally posted back to the 1st of January, the Allen Farms project was originally reposted as deferred last month for 125 houses, what was on the agenda for last month. But the revised plans come in with the revised agenda went out last week for 72 homes lots instead of 125. So that's the only change to what we'd advertised before, the reduction in number of homes. So.
Okay, but everything else remains the same.
That's correct.
Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as written?
So moved.
So moved by Mayor Tennant. A second.
Second.
Second by Billy Barnfield. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. You've each been given a copy of the minutes for the January meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes that you see? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as written? So moved by Mr. McNeil. A second? Second by Mr. Parnell. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I need to defer, please.
Okay, Judy was not here last month, so she defers. Thank you. It is now time for citizen comments. If you would like to comment on anything on the agenda or have any other things you'd like to express, now's the time to do it. We would like you to keep your comments under 3 minutes. And if you would like to make a comment, come to the podium, state your name and your address, and then we will, now's the time.
Good evening. My name is Allie Toll. I reside at 327 Allen Road in Goodlettsville. My comments will be short. I am pleased with the new proposal. I spoke with Mr. Patel and his developer after our last meeting, and they gave me some insight as to what they were trying to do. But I said to him at that time, 125 is still too many. And Mr. Patel took what he heard last month to heart. They came back with a new plan, and as a neighbor to this developing property, I can support it. I'm really excited about the fact that from the original plan that had 71 homes, we now have 2 entrances, where that one had 1 entrance. And he has assured me that the price point is quite significant, so I think that will be positive for the property values around the neighborhood. One concern I do have that I failed to mention to him or even think to discuss was the roadway. I know when Copper Creek was constructed, the road had to be paved, I want to say twice, because with the construction traffic coming through, there were potholes, and it needs to be a consideration for this development as well, that at least once when the property is complete, or perhaps even midway, if the road finds itself ridden with potholes, that there is some type of paving contemplated, whether it's in the developer budget or the city budget. But I know that will be a concern based on our past experience. But otherwise, Mr. Patel and developers, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Troy Tyson, 675 Fall Creek Circle, Goodlettsville. I am a resident of Goodlettsville. I am the president of the Copper Creek Homeowners Association, Copper Creek 2. Let me rephrase that. So relative to the Allen Farms project, our subdivision, actually, we got concerns around Allen Road itself, that it's not really quite up to snuff to the traffic that we're going to have. It's just too narrow, it's treacherous. If you pass going along there with a big truck, not even a construction vehicle, you pucker up a little bit and wonder if you're going to run off the road. So to validate my concerns, I went out this afternoon with my trusty tape measure and took some measurements, and I sent this to Adam. He's got the file. In 3 different places along Allen Road, I measured that it's 18 feet 9 inches wide, 18 feet 1 inch wide, 17 feet 6 inches wide. And in comparison to some of the other roadways in the area, the Allen Road portion at Windridge entrance across Long Hollow from us, it's 30 feet 8 inches wide. Willis Branch went and measured from curb to curb, it's 27 feet wide. Just the asphalt itself is 25 feet 2 inches wide. Caldwell Road is 24 feet 3 inches wide. 12 Stones Crossing is 24 feet 4 inches wide. Even Fall Creek Circle is 23 feet 11 inches wide. And again, Allen Road is about 18 feet wide. It's just too narrow. It's not up to snuff. And if you go out, and I think I found the Tennessee restrictions or requirements for roadways, depending on what the annual daily traffic is for the road, it should be minimum of 20 feet with a 2 feet shoulder. Allen Road currently does not have a shoulder at all, but if you go up on the daily traffic, it should be 24 feet. And again, we're at 18 feet. It's just not wide enough. And, you know, I've got this in the file, the requirements, so I just don't think that Allen Road is quite up to snuff. Regardless of the amount of traffic, it's not wide enough. It's scary, it's dangerous, and it needs to be improved before the development is built. That's it.
Thank you.
Good evening. Jack Nugent, 411 Fall Creek Circle, Goodlettsville, obviously. I'm still looking at, as has just been noted, the fact that Allen Road, which I travel every day, is not sufficient to put another, at a minimum, 100 cars a day on, which is what's going to come out of this subdivision. So I'm happy to see that they've reduced the size of the impact on the neighborhood. I'm not opposed to building new homes. That's why I moved out here. I think I said that last month. I like this area. I want to see more people live here. I want folks to come here and call it home, but I also want things to be safe. So if this is going to get passed, let's stop for a minute and let's get the infrastructure in place first. We need to widen Allen Road, provide runoff on the side of the road, so it's going to be at least 2 wider lanes and curbs or shoulders, paved shoulders. And also, we need to talk about the improvements that are going to happen to Long Hollow. It is a very well-traveled road, and every year it gets beat up. I mean, we live in an area where the weather tears up the roads, and if you go down there right now, there's potholes that were patched last year, the year before, the year before, the year before. They're back. So there needs to be some improvements to Long Hollow to handle this extra traffic. So I think it's inevitable that there's going to be expansion out off of Allen Road. I want to make sure that the infrastructure is ready to handle it, and the primary infrastructure is going to have to be the roads because they're going to get destroyed during the construction process. How do I know that? Before I retired, I was in construction. And the first thing we did when we put our budget line in was we said infrastructure repair after construction. That should be the responsibility of the developer. Also, widening Allen Road should be the responsibility of the developer. If they're going to sell these homes and make a profit off of it, they need to make sure that what you guys are providing for them as far as support, that they're on board with it, that they get a piece of the action, they're part of it. One last thing, I have a suggestion. There was at one time some kind of a plan to extend Allen Road out to Center Point. I think that needs to be revisited as part of this, because it would relieve traffic down to Long Hollow, but also a lot of people, I think, go that way from our area. So if that road was over the mountain and went to Center Point, I think it would relieve some of these problems. Thank you.
Hello, I am Kim Swint Lanier, and I live at 240 Allen Road, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. And I wanted to talk about the Allen Farms project. First, I'll have to disagree with the Center Point expansion, or whatever you want to call it. I think that would just become a cut-through and make traffic problems on Long Hollow and our street considerably worse. So I don't agree with that idea, and I'm very pleased that Allen Farms has decided to lower it back basically to the original plan. And I'm not against, some expansion on Allen Road as far as making the road wider. I know not all of it is in the city, so it might just have to be from the first entrance zone. I don't know how that works. My only concern is when this was originally improved with Allen Farms at the end of 2018, they were for 71 high-end homes. There were going to be higher quality, custom-built homes, not flip-flop houses. There was an article in the Tennessean that quoted Mr. Patel saying he would stick to the original plan, and that was in around June of 2022. And this makes the fourth time we've been here. I'm wanting to know, and I tried to reach out and find out, is it still going to be the 71 high-end custom homes that was originally approved? And like I said, there's a quote of him saying this and saying that the lot sizes are projected to be between 25,000 to 30,000 square feet, and the homes would be from 3,500 to 4,200 square feet, Patel said. And it also quotes him saying he would stick to the original plan. And yet this makes at least 2 more times that we've been here, a total of at least 4. And it feels like it's kind of getting worn out, like they're wearing us down to approve something that you'd already approved and gone through all the hurdles and hoops. So I'm asking you guys to please make them stick to the original one, so we will have better, high-quality end homes in Goodlettsville, all brick, really nice, and bring in that kind of clientele to this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chip Hooper. I live at 314 Allen Road. My house is actually right across the street from one of the entrances that is proposed in this plan. The original entrance, I guess, the new entrance is down the road from me. But I am pleased that Mr. Patel has decided to go from the 120 houses or 20 lots to 71, 72 lots as proposed tonight. I did get a chance to look at some of the plans that what the houses are going to look like, and And also was told that these houses were going to be in the $800,000 to $1 million price range. I did notice on the plans that none of the houses have garages. So I don't know, I'm not a real estate expert, but I don't know that a house that doesn't have a garage is going to have be worth $800,000. Also, if you don't have a garage, where are these people going to park? They're going to park on the road. Once they get, all their places taken up in their driveway, they're going to park on the road. Another concern is, I don't really know the definition between low density and high density, but what I saw in this plan appeared to be that these houses are pretty close together. It looks looks high density to me, based on the plan that they showed, and so these houses are going to be pretty much packed in there with cars parking everywhere, in my opinion. The second entrance is a good thing. I think that'll offset some of the traffic on Allen Road. I'm not against that. I think that's a good thing. And just like the lady in front before me said, in the very beginning, I came to the meeting in 2018. I didn't know about one in 2022. But Mr. Patel stood out here in the hallway and told us that these were going to be really nice houses, custom built, and it doesn't seem that we're going that way. They seem like they're a track home type subdivision that we're looking at here. And somebody said at the last meeting when we were talking about that subdivision across the road on Long Hollow Pike that, most likely that subdivision is going to get developed at some time. And but he didn't agree with the amount of houses that they had planned for that subdivision. And I know this subdivision's already been planned for 71 lots, but it seems that that they are packed in, and I'd like to revisit a lesser amount of houses, just based on what Mr. Patel told us in the very beginning, that these were going to be 1 acre lots. And then also, just real quick, the traffic issues, I'll let all these other people have already talked about it, and it is a very narrow road, and it'll be, that does need to be looked at too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Meyer. I live at 471 Fall Creek Circle. My house backs up to Allen Road. I know the whole Allen Road discussion has been talked about already. I have the same concerns about the width of the road, the traffic that's going to be on it, with the number of houses that have already been proposed and approved. I will go with the people who live on Allen Road, since my house backs up to Allen Road, and say connecting it to Center Point is the last thing in the world I want. I will be hightailing it out of here really quick if that happens. Last meeting, there was a big discussion about the Keel development by Winridge on the other side of Long Hollow from us. A lot of discussion, which no one's brought up today, and I don't know what the results are or concerns are, if there are any, with the houses that have already been approved for Allen Farms. Is the police, the fire, the schools, did we plan for this when this was approved? In 2018, I didn't live here yet. 2022, like the other gentleman said, I didn't know about this meeting or that was happening and getting approved for the 71 homes that are approved for right now. And like the gentleman before me said, like if there's a way to revisit this and knock down how many lots are up there and how many cars are going to be coming through on that road, that would be wonderful. But I'm not going to hold any hope out on that, since you guys already all approved that. And I don't know if Mr. Patel comes to the meetings every few years when you guys change positions, hoping that someone's going to vote and go for his extra houses and whatever his different plans are. But there's a concern that he's owned this property for that long and hasn't done anything with it and keeps changing his ideas and what he wants to do there. So, like I said, I don't know if the infrastructure is really there. We've talked about the roads. No one talked about fire, police, and school this time around like they did when we were talking about Keel last month. But that is still a concern for this development. I'm done. I'm just writing my name.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from anybody? Seeing none, do I have a motion to end the citizen comments? Ms. Wheeler moves to close the comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Tenon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much for all your comments. They were well heard up here, as always. We are now ready to get into the heart of the agenda. Let's see. We are ready for item number 4. Cedar Side at Dry Creek Phase 1 requests master plan revision to change the townhouse exterior building material percentage requirements. Is anyone here representing this item? Okay. If you'll come and state your name and
Andrew Robertson, Ryan Holmes.
okay, we're going to let Adam start off.
All right, Cedar Side at Dry Creek, there's two parts to it. One is on Dry Creek Road. It's actually under construction currently. And then the second part is on Robert Cartwright. They built the utilities and the roads on the other section, but not necessarily the homes yet. And the proposal tonight is to build a change to the architectural design requirements. Project was approved several years ago with 50% brick or stone around all walls, with the secondary materials being like a fiberboard material, hardy board, the brand name for it, as you can see up on the top. The request is on that phase, the Robert Cartwright phase, I guess that'd be phase 1. The phasing kind of got backwards, how they actually build them. But not the ones under their building now, but the ones on Robert Cartwright across the creek there. They want to do as proposed here, 50% brick or stone along the front, and then the side and back have a brick or stone foundation. It could be anywhere from a couple feet to a couple inches, depending on how the grade works on it, and not put the brick or stone on the side and the back. That's their request tonight. Told them it would be something, this board approved it based on our standards. It'd have to be something this board would have to review to revise. But it would be on the phase, the Robert Cartwright phase for those homes, townhomes proposed to be built.
Okay, Andrew, do you have anything to add?
I mean, the gist of it is, we've been building out the, I guess, call it phase 2 now for the last little over a year now. We're about halfway through getting all the foundations out of the ground in that phase. And we realized through selling those homes that, the gist of it is that the end buyer isn't really getting the value for the additional brick, because they go to contract and they really don't have a choice to say, hey, do I need to have all that brick on the side or the back? Can I elect for a less brick, which would come at a little bit lower price point? So our proposal is really just to, we wouldn't get rid of the 50% side and rear brick. We would have that as an option for the end buyer, where if they wanted to pay for that additional brick on the sides and rear, they could get that as an exterior option. We see most of our buyers in this community, some of them have gone as far to ask if they can not select to have the extra brick, because there is cost associated with that, and that in turn goes to the end sales price. So kind of that's what it boils down to, and that's kind of what our request is today.
Our motion options, one would be to approve, deny, or defer if the request anything.
Okay. Turn it over to the board to see if they have any questions or comments.
What's the price difference when you look at going from a 50%? What would that option look like in cost?
Yeah, for an interior unit, it's probably around $7,000, just because we're talking about the back of the townhome. For the end units, you got the side and the rear. That's a little bit over $10,000 is what we kind of estimated at this point. We would go into kind of a full deep dive if this were approved, and then basically have a separate base cost, for the starting level with the brick to grade on the sides and the rear, rather than 50% brick.
Yes, sir. Do you guys eat any of that cost, like in closing costs or incentives that you give to new buyers?
All that's calculated with the final sales price. So, we're paying for that, and that comes out in the final sales price.
So it's kind of just, what I'm hearing here, it's just bottom price is the money.
Yeah.
So the difference in, cost analysis, the difference between the hardy board versus the brick?
All I know is the delta between the two. Again, roughly around 7 grand for the interior units and a little over 10 grand for the end units there.
Initially, I was all for 50% brick, at least. I don't want to, we're trying to make Goodlettsville nicer. We're not trying to back it up any, so I'm just one opinion, but I'm against dropping it, taking any brick away. If anything, I'd be for adding more brick, so that's just my opinion. I'm trying to make Goodlettsville look better, so.
And just to add, this would just be sides and rear. The fronts would all look exactly as they do now as you drive through the community, but just wanted to note that.
Yeah, you can see all 4 sides though, so I'm pretty adamant about, I built a house right here in Goodlettsville and I'm 100% brick for the reason I thought I'm gonna do for Goodlettsville or what I do for myself for Goodlettsville, so that's all I got.
Understood.
Mr. Chairman, I would just say, the master plan was passed with these stipulations and these standards. I think this is the second time I know of Ryan Home Neighborhood has come back and asked for revisions. And I think for that reason, I think we need to stick with what the plan was.
You have something?
I'll just add that, and y'all have heard me say this before, if we're going to make these changes, then we should just change our ordinance. We get this request pretty consistently, and it's clear that the builders are just trying to lower the costs, and I get that. I'm not, as a realtor, I have clients who struggle to buy places because it's just costly, and I understand that regulations add cost. I get that. But there is no part of me that wants to make a cutout for this particular development. If we want to change the rules for everybody going forward, that's fine. Actually, I don't want to do that either, but that would be at least something I would consider. But a carve-out, I'm not okay with that. And quite honestly, the only reason I feel like I'm in agreement with people, so I could have just been quiet, but I honestly kind of want our staff to know that when people come with these requests, clearly if they want to move forward and they want to make the request and they want to come to the meeting, perfectly acceptable. But I need them to know that this board is pretty adamant about our standards being met. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Adam, do we require a 2-hour separation between buildings?
Yes, the building code requires that for the townhouses. It's like a joint 2-hour wall.
Okay.
The units on the other side of the street that are complete or near complete, how are those built?
How are they built?
Are they 50% brick?
Yes, sir. Yeah, all
Okay.
those are going to be 50% all the way around. This would just be only for this last phase.
Then I would echo what everybody else is saying. I think we got to be consistent. We've asked developers to stick with this in the past, and they have, and I think we need to be consistent. Are there any other comments or questions on this item? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to deny.
Mr. Parnell has moved to deny the request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by multiple. I'll give it to Mayor Tenon. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of denial, say aye. Aye. Thank you. We're ready for item number 5. Hotel Suites by Hilton. Request site plan approval for a 100-room, 61,786 square foot hotel on 2.1 acres at 320 Cartwright Street. Anybody here representing this property? State your name, please.
Daniel Whitley, Arna Consulting Engineers, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Adam first.
All right, this was deferred last month. There was some engineering questions. They have made changes, and I'll go through it a little bit. Talk with our consultant engineer, feel like we could, and I'm gonna give my recommendation in a minute. The engineering stuff could be something, the major comments are addressed. There's some minor comments on the calcs and stuff like that, but it could go forward. This project, last year, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved a request for a setback variance. Actually, the setback variance was originally approved back several years ago, I think 2019. The reason the setback variance was approved for a closer setback on East Cedar here was because the floodplain and floodway at the bottom of the property. This project does have 100 hotel rooms, so it was based on the zoning. The vested rights it vested the project under the zoning that was at the time. We did the layout, because right now as of last summer, we require 120 rooms for a minimum for hotel rooms for new projects. So this would fall underneath that. The building is up closer to the street per the setback variance due to the FEMA floodplain and the stream buffer. There is requests for 4 off-street parking. Our parking for hotels based on the number of rooms, of course, 1 per room. Then also per employees, 1 parking place for every 2 employees. So there's a deficit on the number of parking required for the employees. There's 4 spots are shy. They did get a agreement with the Starbucks owners. I don't know if you've seen Starbucks. There's parking along the backside back there. Kind of could be overflow. So that agreement would, if it gets approved, would have to be recorded. That way, that's in place. But that would be for overflow for any employee issues there. Kind of give you a little highlight. The stream buffer is in the pink area. The floodway is in the blue, and then there's a floodplain. There is a section of floodplain also here, but the floodway is limited to this location. It's kind of an odd way it's shaped out. And I missed my letter. The big comment was about last month about grading in the floodplain and the stream buffer, and what we coordinated and discussed. The request is to put a pipe outlet. This site is being constructed with all underground, under parking, stormwater drainage. So the outlet of it was the question because they were grading to get to it. But we felt like under the TDEC's aquatic alteration permit process, you can do limited in the buffer areas, in the creek areas, and we feel like an outlet pipe for limited site would be permitted. So that's something they would go forward with it, but it did change the engineer review with the understanding that it would have to be a permitted connection through TDEC to outlet there. Landscaping wise, if y'all remember our discussion last month, there's some trees along East Cedar. We request those Cartwright Street, we request those be more understory due to the overhead power lines. And there's a Madison Suburban major water main back here. I did have some comments with them. They would definitely appreciate, we don't require trees over their buffer area, or their water main. So that landscaping on this area could be thinned out a little bit based on the Madison Suburban's review. The building is at 50% brick stone, and the remaining is like an EFS type structure, which is pretty common for hotels. They like that's easy to rebrand long term, but it would meet our requirements, our commercial design requirements of 50% brick or stone. Staff stipulations, number 1, revised submittal addressing the city consultant engineer's review comments. That's kind of we hit on. Number 2, provide a revised landscape plan. The big things there is those understory trees along Cartwright Street, and then the Madison Suburban, that I'm expecting some of those plants and trees to be removed from the plants in that area of their water main. The off-site parking agreement to be recorded prior to any building occupancy. We need to have that through Register of Davidson County. And then revise the plan to include the city sidewalk and driveway construction details on the plans. We just have standard details we have to make sure when they build those, they meet ours about the depth and things like that of the concrete and the rock. Motion options, 1 would be to approve with the staff stipulations, 2 would be to deny it, and the denial will be based on giving them a defined list of items they need to revise the plan, since this is a use permitted by the zoning district. or 3, defer the request. That's all the comments I have.
Do you have anything to add?
We reviewed the staff stipulations, and we have no problem addressing those, but I'll happy to answer any additional questions you may have, or, but we're good with the staff stipulations.
I'll turn it over to the board then for any questions or comments. If this is approved, when would construction begin?
They are geared up, ready to go. So
Okay.
they just they're in the process of bidding it right now. So if we get it approved, and the ARAP permit takes about 30 to 60 days. So as soon as we get that and we get the local permit, we'll be good to go.
Okay. Mr. Parnell?
Okay, so this is a legal question. So if you have the right to build a hotel on this site because it's zoned for a hotel, but the hotel doesn't fit on the site because of certain constraints. Yeah, they've said if we're going to deny it, we have to give exacting reasons because it's, I guess, a use by right. I feel like we're squeezing the daylights out of this thing to try to get it to fit. And I feel like when I look at I-65 and I look at the city of Goodlettsville, we have exit 96, we have exit 97, and we have exit 98. And I guess the people on 96 and 98 might disagree, but I kind of feel like 97 is our premier exit. It's the one that leads to City Hall. It's I don't know, I feel like it's of the 3, at least as of today, our nicest exit. And I look at this as it is taking that exit, and I don't see from an aesthetic standpoint that it's improving it. Okay, so that's an opinion, subjective opinion. I think it's crammed up against the interstate exit, and I think it's removing whatever landscaping is there. They got some bushes on the backside, but that's about it because we've got to protect a water line. And we're cramming and cramming and cramming and cramming, trying to get something, and quite honestly, even cramming, we're not meeting all the actual requirements of parking. I don't like how the stormwater's done. I don't understand how the sanitary sewer's been revised. I just feel like we're cramming a square into a round hole. But at the same time, if, from a legal standpoint, do we have the right, if the BZA's already said, hey, fine, we're okay with it, cram it. And they've already removed the setbacks that should be there. If they've already done that, what right do we have to even, does it matter what we feel? Yes, sir.
Exactly recalling all the, Adam, if you could refresh everyone with the BZA, the setback variations that were approved.
Where it's at?
Yeah, it was,
I think it's 15 feet. I remember at the front setback on the East Cedar section.
and that was,
That
that's
corner,
right.
That one corner there where it kind of does that.
Well, I'll start first with regard to the extra 4 parking spots that suggested by a recorded agreement. I think that agreement needs to be obviously in perpetuity. It's basically a permanent easement. People can't decide to sell and then they go away, or, I mean, it runs with the land. So whoever owns the Starbucks land 30 years from now, if this hotel's still there, it's got to allow 4 parking spots, is what I'm getting at. If the setbacks have been approved and the engineering would fit, then, and the project is allowed to go forward under those constraints, then I don't think we can deny it on that basis. You can deny it on some other basis, but you can't deny it because it seems to be tied up against the interstate, and when it meets within the parameters of the floodplain there, assuming that all works out. I'm no engineer, but, you know, I know that oftentimes what looks on paper, sometimes the end result can be very, very difficult to see the end results with all the variables that go in. It does look like to me to be a very tight project, as you would say. I mean, it's down to the minimums with setback revisions. But if it fits at that level, it fits. I don't think we can deny it on that basis.
Thank you.
And I know there was some issue, and Adam, you may want to address this as well, and I would call it the pink zone there that's shaded. Suddenly now that has an awful, it's a very straight line that seems to run. What used to be a natural line is now a very straight line in that parking lot. I'm not sure what happened there. For some reason, is that parking lot encroach originally at all into the original stream buffer area there?
My understanding, the way our ordinance works on the stream buffers, there's a 30-foot and a 60-foot, and it's average width. And I think they calculated.
And then they can, okay.
That's why it's kind of odd shape, because that's my understanding.
Yeah, it's based on the average, so we meet the 30-foot minimum, but that's why there's a variance in depth. It's because you get the 60-foot average.
Any other comments?
Excuse me. Since this building is kind of jammed on the property line there, are you going to have fire sprinklers within the building?
It's required to be sprinkled, yes.
Because you have no way for the fire trucks to get around the building if there were a fire on that side, on the east side of the building.
It's a fully sprinkled building.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, this question may be better for Mr. Patel. I don't know if you were involved. The project that we talked about a few years ago that mirrored this piece of property where the gun range is now, is this the same project that we were trying to put there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The original one was going to have a hotel and conference center.
Yes, sir. And then we were going to put the parking on East Cedar where this hotel's trying to go now, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. That's why we're doing it right.
Dean, why don't you come up to the microphone, please?
Good evening, everybody.
Now, I just remember we were trying, I'm sorry, Mr. Ellis, were you done?
Yeah, he just wanted to.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I just remember we were trying to make this work on the piece of property across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And you sold that to the gun range, or the gun range is there now.
Correct, yes, sir.
We were going to put the parking lot on this particular parcel.
There was going to be a hotel on this side as well.
Oh,
and
it was?
It was going to be, we were going to try to do a bridge.
Across the road, right?
Yeah, but then NES had issues, so the conference center was going to be on where the gun range was.
Okay.
Hotel would be here, and they would have parking that was going to be shared between this lot and the other lot.
Okay.
The reason that we have a site like this is because Hilton, which is a big product home to, they don't do any rooms that are less than 100 rooms. If we could get by with 94 rooms or 99 rooms, we'd do that, but they just don't have a prototype for that.
Okay. All right. And because if I remember correctly, it's going to have like a rooftop But then we had some concerns about having the rooftop deck because the interstate.
That's correct, yeah, on the original plans.
But not on this plan.
Not on this plan, no.
Okay.
This is just a
Okay.
regular home-to hotel. And this is nothing different to all the other hotels we have on the opposite side where the Candlewood is, Town Place, all of that hits the interstate right there. It butts up to it. It doesn't have any going around it or all like that. But, you know, with a fully sprinkled building, our main thing is obviously safety.
Correct.
So being a fully sprinkled, and, you know, I think.
Well, it has to be sprinklered anyway because it's an occupied building.
Correct. And Hilton has a lot more of their own fire safety requirements than any ordinance do as well, cities. So they've got a lot of their own stuff as well.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion, and in the motion, if it's a motion to approve, it would need to include at least these three stipulations. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Four stipulations.
Mr. Chairman, I think there will need to be a fourth stipulation based on the comments from. No, a written easement for the parking, I don't think that is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's actually in there, the stipulation for the, maybe I'm wrong.
You just added forever.
I know,
to that.
okay, I knew he had addressed it, and then when I said it's in perpetuity, yeah, so they were, understood it to be that way.
And we already have that easement written, and it's agreed upon by the two parties. It's just waiting to be recorded. We were waiting for the approval of this body first.
What are the terms of those? We have not seen it, I don't think, so that's the reason why I'm.
A copy of it was provided to staff, so I'm not sure
Okay,
if it
well,
was.
I did not see it, so what does it say?
I don't have it with me. Do you have a copy?
It's just to authorize the parking places.
I guess my greatest concern is what is the term of it? What is it?
I mean, I'll send it to you, or you can see it, but I mean,
Is it
that's what I said before we occupy the building.
Okay.
I've got it. I just want it to be recorded. I didn't see anything that stood out, just that it needed to be recorded, so.
I'd just like to step in there. So Starbucks property is owned by the same owners, our ownership. So obviously whatever the city requires, but the best thing to do is put it on the deed as an indefinite 4 parking spot. That way it goes with the deed if and when the property is sold. And that would probably be the best thing. But the parking that we did was just something that was generic that people use in the, all day. But obviously having this recorded as part of a deed on Starbucks, I would feel more satisfied because Starbucks, we hope they're going to be there for 30 years. We hope the hotel's going to be there for 30 years. We don't plan on departing from any of the business of them, but even in the future, if we did, at least everything's in writing. So we'd be more than happy to put it on a deed of trust too.
No, and that's fine, Mr. Patel. Like I said, I have no issue, and I have total faith in Mr. McCormick. I just had not seen it. I just want to make sure it's a document in perpetuity that's tied to that property. Otherwise, this board will make a decision, and then Adam and I will be left with fixing it if they went out of business or some other item that went on with that.
No, Mr. Adam had made it very clear that before any use and occupancy is given, this document would have to be recorded. Obviously, at that time, the right way, whatever we got to do. We can have, obviously, we have our city attorney review it, make sure you guys are good with it before we record it. So we're more than happy to do that too.
Now, Russell, you mentioned an easement. Does it need to be an easement, or is it agreement satisfactory?
Well, I would suggest it could be in a way, it could be a perpetual, well, it's got to be an easement to give a property right, given to the hotel properties, to be able to have access in perpetuity for spaces. And I think that, because of the need for those 4 spaces under our requirements, that it's probably, it would need to be a requirement, because it then becomes an easement. You have what's called dominant and servient lands. So obviously, the Starbucks property needs to serve the hotel land, and that needs to be a perpetual easement for 4 spots and free access to it.
And our zoning ordinance allows parking agreements to meet minimum park. That's why there's not a variance request, because our ordinance spells it out, so. But we still have to have it recorded and approved, or recorded.
Yeah, and I'll look at the terms of it. It very well may meet all the terms and conditions for all Carter County.
Okay. Maybe the safe thing to do, if there's a favorable motion, then item number 3 ought to read, forever, this agreement be firm and forever. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'll entertain a motion and we could approve, deny, or defer. And so,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Barnfield has made a motion to approve, and does this include all the above stipulations?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion for approval. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Wheeler. Are there any further comments to be made before we go to a vote?
Mr. Chairman, I just had one question from Mr. Patel. I'm sorry, tried to get you before you sat down, but he's already talking. You can stay there. So are these, because it don't show the interior room, are these suites? Are these have kitchens?
Yeah, this is the Hilton brand full suite room. So, they're mainly catered towards business people.
Okay.
And travelers. Definitely not no extended meeting rooms. So it's all.
Wait a minute. Step up here there, if you will.
Yes, sir.
So that was one of my questions, but you go ahead and I'll ask you
so
if you're done.
The Home 2 Suites by Hilton is mainly geared towards business people that come throughout the week, and then you got family travelers with the kitchens. So their rates are anywhere from $120 plus. By no means this is going to be a weekly hotel where people will come in and rent them for like $300 a week, because there's no way you can afford a hotel like this.
Okay. So my question, and I'm glad you said that, and I appreciate your work and the developments that you've done in the city, but there is an issue because we know we have a hotel that is right next door to you
Yes,
that
sir.
we have issues with from time to time.
Most definitely, yes, sir.
But you're giving us confirmation, and that's not going to be an issue with this establishment.
No, not with the reservation system that Hilton has. Anything that's a higher brand, Hilton, Marriott, you're always going to have that clientele is a completely different clientele. And if we start getting weeklies in that hotel, we're all going to have problems. So I don't think that's the last thing that we're going to end up doing.
But you would be the one that would have to police that before we had issues.
Yes, correct, yeah. And, Hilton is required to be run through a management company. So you got to be certified management, you go through all that training and stuff. So, again, anything can happen throughout anything, but that's
Sure.
the last thing that Hilton's going to ask you to do.
And you'll be owner-operator.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Thank you
Yep,
so
I've been in
much.
Goodlettsville for a good 14 years now. I plan on staying here. And, we are part of Allen Farms. I know it's coming on the agenda, but from time to time, things change. Our main thing is getting a development started. And luckily, I was able to get a family member from North Carolina who joined us, who's got a lot more pull with Hilton, because I did not have the pull to even get the Hilton brand over there. So it's been a blessing that this will happen. And, I think that this property will outperform, and hopefully a couple of years from now, we'll be able to look at the city and say, hey, hopefully you all loved it, and say that was a great move you all did. So, and I understand that it's crammed up a little bit, but, that's the last thing that we wanted. But I think once it's done, that product will be a nice product. If you see any Home 2s around, you'll see Home 2 Suites by Hilton is a very upscale hotel. So thank you all for listening to us.
Yeah, thank you so much, and sorry to get you up 2 or 3 times there.
No, you're fine, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Any further comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 2 opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. We are ready for item number 6.
528 Moncrief Avenue. Request recommendation to the City Commission to rezone the 4.0 acre property at 528 Moncrief from R25 low density residential to agricultural. Is there anybody here representing this property? If you'd state your name, please.
Cindy Anderson Crocker, the property owner's realtor with the Wilson Group Real Estate Services. And Zach is also a realtor with the Wilson Group. Sorry.
Okay, Adam?
All right, this is a request, kind of unique, what we normally see. It's a request to rezone a portion of a property from R25 low density resident to agricultural. I'll give you a little location where we're at. So Moncrief, here's Brick Church. So here's the property itself, roughly just 4 acres. And the proposal is to rezone the back 3 acres, which I got a picture here in a minute, kind of show where that comes into play. The green area along Brick Church is already zoned agricultural, and then the red is the R25 low density residential. My understanding, per talking to the owner, the back of the property's got some good slope on it. I'll show you in a second, but their key would be able to place horses on the property. My understanding, there's been horses there in the past, but they want the ability to have horses. And I was called about it to sell the property, to be able to have horses, them keep horses. I was called about it, and all I can say is in R25, our current zoning ordinance does not allow horses. So a lot of times when properties are being sold, that kind of makes people nervous. So that's what the owner was like, well, I want that ability to continue on, if I keep it or if I sell it. On the right-hand side is our comprehensive plan. It shows the red area, which kind of this property would be in, more of your low-density residential, like for development. So really the comprehensive plan supports low density. Our agricultural zoning district is a low-density based zoning district, but it does allow animals in the crop areas. I'll show you in a second. This is the property itself. This house here, the property drops about 60 feet, over 200 feet across the width of it. And then, as you can see, the contours, it goes down. So it's got a lot of slope. And the owner liked that. My understanding, that was one of the reasons that they had the agricultural to preserve the slope area back there. I know this is hard to see. In the agricultural district now versus R25, which I highlight those. In the agricultural district, you can do, this will help, agricultural uses, including crop and animal raising. Crop, of course, be any kind of thing you think of to grow stuff for sale, corn, any kind of animals, any kind of thing like that. The animals are a little different under our zoning ordinance in our agricultural, in this zone district, that it does not include confined feeding operations, any kind of processing, packaging facilities. So our agricultural, I always call it kind of like an agricultural lot because we are a city, so it does allow people to have animals, but it's not really there for a processing facility or like a confined animal feeding lot, like a hog farm or like chicken coops. So that's what it'd be. The way the property slopes, it's really going to limit, more your large animals, limited number of those. And then plant and forest nurseries, kind of growing of plants and trees and landscaping purposes. Motion options. This is a recommendation to the City Commission. Recommend approval to the request to rezone the back 3 acre portion. I forgot to show you all that. The 3 acres, here's the house here. So 3 acres would basically be from the back of the house back. So the goal would be to kind of keep the zoning along the front. Zoning the back is agricultural will limit the subdivision ability of the property. So the owner needs to be aware of that. And I think we've talked about it, but I don't think that's the intent at this point. So, motion options, recommend approval of the request to rezone the back 3 acres from R25 to agricultural. 2, we could recommend denial of it, maintain the R25, or 3, we could defer it if there's any additional information requested by the Planning Commission.
Anything to add, ma'am?
The seller has done an excellent job maintaining the property. It's beautiful. It's an excellent front yard that's beautiful and open. It's all fenced in the back where she's had animals back there. It's no surprise. Lots of people know that. But they're not there now. She had 2 horses. And that's been an attractive thought process in the sale of it. It's not everybody's horse property. She had two. It's not going to hold any more than that, and neighbors would be the first to let you know that somebody was in default. But, we've had people request about a few chickens for, the raising of eggs, or maybe a goat. You can hear roosters in the area. There's deer through there. She wants to preserve it. It is beautiful. It's an excellent mix, like I said, of a home and a little bit of yard, and then in the back it's all wooded if you wanted to hike or, four-wheel back there, or ride horses, or have a hammock or whatever. It's really beautiful, but it is, as Adam said, there is a significant slope, and it would be very hard to do anything with it, to develop it. So, and she appreciates your consideration.
So I didn't mention the chickens. We have a section of ordinance, it's like 100 square feet chicken coop, and they got to have separation to property lines. So one thing, if they want to do the chickens in ag, you can do them. It's just they're going to have to separate them from property lines, not to be up close to it.
And you are the realtor, is that correct?
I am.
Okay. Has the house been sold yet?
We have accepted a contract. It's not contingent on this approval or lack of approval, but it's under contract.
Okay. Are there any comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Parnell.
I have questions. So Adam, so we're not really splitting the lot. The lot is still just one lot.
That's correct.
How many, just a roundabout figure, I don't expect you to know exactly, but how many lots do we have in the city that are split zoning like that?
You see a lot on our main highways where there's commercial frontage, residential behind it on South Dickerson area. Just a rough estimate, maybe 10 to 20% of them.
Okay. So, and I kind of figured it wasn't that uncommon. I did check the zoning to make sure you can only build one house on either, whether it's agricultural or R25, so we're not really changing any of that. I don't see any reason really not to approve it, other than, if somebody has a concern about animals over there, but it looks like it would be totally fine.
It's a unique request in that there's agricultural zoning around it. And the way the properties fall, with it being agricultural on these sides, they want to keep kind of this area here, but.
Yeah, I guess I don't see a downside. I guess I'm asking, is there a downside that I'm missing?
I guess the only downside would be if the people along Moncrief are concerned, especially the neighbors south, I guess, of them having animals back there.
Okay. And your opinion? And your opinion?
Can you come to the podium so we can hear you? Thank you.
I'm Earl Strong, and I'm at 526, and that's right next to it. And I don't understand why she's trying to do this agriculture, and she's selling and leaving anyway. So I don't understand. So how come the new person can't make it what they want? I bought that piece right beside there because I figured I wasn't ever going to find that much land this close to Nashville and get any more. So mine's not developed in the back, and I just don't understand why she would do that. It's an old established neighborhood, and she's already dropped a horse barn back there after previous owners had clear-cut the holler back in there where nice backyard and everything. But I'd say no, I just don't understand it myself.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that you're concerned about a horse or two being back there. You just don't understand why she's doing it and selling.
yet. So, I mean, I figured it's got to be a financial thing, benefit to her. But I don't know. I just had problems with her. I came home one night and her sewer to that house wasn't even tied in on the sewer line. And I had a track hoe in my front yard digging it up, and I went off. So I just had problems with her, and I don't understand it.
All right, thank you. Is the backyard fenced?
Part of it is, yes. Not all the way to the back of the property line. She fenced in where her horses were, and it's been very nicely done. She's done an excellent job with renovation on the drainage system and whatnot. There's riprap and drain lines in there. Again, it is pretty steep, so it's not conducive to multiple. I mean, she had 2 horses. Most people wouldn't do that, probably. But she's done an excellent job with maintaining it. There was a chain link fence when she bought it, and she extended some of that with an electric fence for her horses to extend the space for her horses. And she's cleared out a few trees, but it's still beautiful, and she's done an excellent job. Unfortunately, there was a sewer problem, but she didn't know about it until she knew about it, like none of us do. But she wants to preserve the land. She doesn't want, she applied for this prior to this contract. And she had the opportunity to, Adam had said that she could cancel it since she was under contract, but it's not sold, it's not closed. And, you know, if it does improve her opportunity to sell, then that's not a bad thing, I don't think. But we don't want to be in the middle of a contract and tell somebody, you know, we're doing this, and other people that have come know that this is coming before you all to consider. So if it does fall through, then we have other people that will go back and tell they didn't approve it or they did approve it, but it's to preserve the land and keep it beautiful. I don't know, I think some of you all have been there and helped her with some of the work that she's done back there and seen how nice it is. You wouldn't know that any animals were back there. I hear the rooster down the road every time I am there, which is at least a couple times a week. But I think that's part of the beauty of this location.
Okay, thank you. Adam, is this in any way considered a spot zoning?
I wouldn't think so, not with the adjacent property zone agricultural. If all the properties around it were R25, and you pop it, yeah, but you do have agricultural on 1, 2, almost.
Aren't her
2
neighbors
sides.
to the right, ag in the back? Aren't those green in the back?
Yeah, the green is agricultural.
So her neighbors to Mr. Strong, I believe, is on the left, if you're facing the front of the house, and the neighbors on the right have that ag zoning already in their backyard. So it's conforming to some of her neighbors as it is.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think I have an issue with rezoning it if this board wants to do that. But it may be that, well, let me ask, if we were to defer this to the next meeting, because honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the pictures of the work that she's done and being able to know, because I haven't seen that, I don't know that. But if we were to defer, is your closing date before the next month is over? So it would, I mean, could it be actually sold before the next meeting?
It's February 27th.
Okay, so yes. So if we deferred it a month and they actually closed it, if we said basically, we're not going to make a decision this meeting, we're going to defer it to the next meeting and push it off a month, at that point, we're not saying no, but if the new owner wanted to keep it alive and come back and say, yes, they want it, we could have that conversation with the new owner. If it falls through, then we could continue to have this conversation with the current owner. But I don't know. I don't feel like I don't have a strong opinion. I'd be okay.
Jeff,
if y'all want to do it, okay. But
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I've been all over this property, behind it, beside it, and everything. I mean, it's really steep. It's the rest of it that backs up to it. It's all agricultural. It's just pretty woods. I don't.
Just move ahead.
My personal opinion is it's exactly what it needs to be, is what they're asking for. It's not going to hurt anything. And like they said, she's made the property way more pretty than it was. And she didn't know the sewer was going to bust when she bought it, so. But I don't see any problem with moving forward with it. That's just my opinion. Not to second guess what you're saying, but I'm just giving you some insight. I've been on it, behind it, beside it, and
Appreciate that.
it's a hillside, but it's beautiful land.
I mean, one thing about tonight, it's a recommendation, so even if y'all approve it, it will not go through city commission. I mean, it's still got to be approved there till, you look at March, April, so another month. It's not going to throw it past their closing time, so.
What would be the possibility this new owner would say, I didn't want agriculture in my backyard?
It is in the contract, the purchase and sale agreement. They are
Okay.
going through their process, that their purchase is not contingent on whether it is or is not approved agriculture. They know about it, it has been disclosed, it's even stated in the contract.
Okay, so they
And
know this is a possibility.
in
All
this
right.
particular situation, not that this one is going to close, we hope that it will, and there's not at this point a reason to think that it won't. But should it not, then for some unforeseen circumstance, I mean, they're in it, whatever the situation, the outcome is, as long as they can be approved. They're two veterans moving from Texas. And, you know, as long as their financing goes through and inspection and all that, then this is a non-issue to them.
I was personally leaning towards not liking this until I learned that the properties to the right of her were zoned exactly the same way. And that changed my opinion.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Okay? Mayor Tennant has made a motion to approve this zoning change to agriculture. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Parnell. Are there any further comments or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're ready for item number 7, is that correct? Yes. This is the Allen Farm subdivision. Request for approval of a revised project, preliminary project master plan to increase the number of one-family detached dwelling units from 71 to 72 lots and revise the site development design to include a second roadway connection to Allen Road. Anybody here to represent this property? And if you would, state your name.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Roger Farmer. I am the Senior Project Manager with Collier Engineering. And I have Mr. David.
And I'm David Feld. I'm a planner with Collier Engineering.
Okay, we'll turn this over to Adam.
All right. Allen Farms is 2 different zone districts. Currently, it's 86 acres, or 91 acres. 86 acres in the green were zoned low-density residential planning development back in 2017. And then additional property was added later. There were 2 5-acre tracts. We've since de-annexed one of them, but this property here, the red, the 5.4 acres, is on R25. So existing approval, we have 71 lots on both the low-density planning development and the R25. That's right under 0.8 unit lots an acre. And the revised proposal, 72 lots, 0.79 lots per acre. Like I said earlier, this was originally submitted for January for 125. The layout on your left is the original approval. Actually, there's current grading permits on the project, even though they're not working on it currently, but this was what was originally approved. 71 lots, single Allen Road access point. This is the back one. This is the front property they have. Here's Copper Creek in this area. I know I've got it flipped where it looks it's not harder to see, but so the proposal is to revise this to the 71, as you see on the right-hand side, with access here off Long Island and then on down Allen. So this would be the new access point. So this one's always been here. There is proposal to do 5 larger lots along Allen Road. That's your R25 zone district. And there are some larger lots in here they want to kind of have as for the bigger lots. But there are the lots we see here. It's a loop street, 2 ways in and out. The original plans, I went back and looked, they referred to, there's a line here and a line here. So they said this section of road is roughly 2,600 feet. It would be developed to city standards. The final plans, I went through the construction documents. There were nothing on those construction documents that showed like alterations to the existing road. But when I read to the city standards, that would be full 22-foot street, sidewalks on both sides, curb and gutter. Like I said, unfortunately, the plans did not reflect, because that'd be a significant amount of grading and stuff to get that to work on that. But that was the intent when the original layout improved final plan. They did submit some house elevation designs. One thing about the houses, currently we require minimum 50% brick under our design guidelines. We limit the number of front-loaded garages. We do different designs for that. The revised plan did show 4 off-street parking places we require now for any homes more than 2-bedroom. But if this does go forward, the final master plan, we would need to see more information about how those houses, the garage orientation will be. These house plans didn't include a garage. My understanding that they were to be around the back, but we would, my understanding based on the original approval, expect a 2-car garage minimum on all these houses. But we would need to see if this goes forward, more information about what percentage of those garages will be front-loaded, side-loaded. These are a little bit bigger lots, so roughly about 100 feet wide. So that could give you the option to do a courtyard side, full side if you wanted to, depending on how the lots are laid out. Staff stipulations, number 1, the house designs to comply. Let me go back to this slide. I forgot to talk about roadway improvements. So we met today with our one of our consultant engineers we use for city traffic signals and roadway designs, and looked at Allen Road. Allen Road is kind of interesting. We get complaints about the lack of shoulders, and also we get complaints about speeding. So we kind of were looking at that. Our recommendation kind of going to this board would be a 1-foot shoulder on both sides of the street on Allen Road from Old Stone, which is Copper Creek, all the way back to Long Haul Pike. I feel like that was the biggest concern area due to the Copper Creek, probably the majority of the traffic on Allen Road there. And then a final pave, when one of the comments earlier, when the project's nearing completion, like we did with Copper Creek, the city did some binder work and the developer did the final asphalt. We would want to see that paved all the way back, kind of where it stops, all the way back to their second entrance here on Allen. That paved and be striped. So that's kind of what we were thinking on the traffic, trying to incorporate some level of improvements on Allen Road, kind of offset. I don't think we feel like we're putting sidewalks and curbs on that back section. We'd rather see the money be spent, go forward with Allen Road. There's some safety concerns with the shoulders. TDOT, we had a meeting with them. The original traffic study was submitted for 125 lots. So TDOT acknowledged that it would probably be a less requirement. If you remember, it did include a turn lane on Long Haul Pike into Allen Road. TDOT wanted to see the traffic study to make their final determination based on run it with the 73 lots or 72 lots instead. So I don't know if the question will still be about a turn lane out there, but that's something we'll look at. Their big issue is they wanted to see the growth in Long Haul Pike traffic because of the 2018 traffic study versus the one now. So that is still up in the air, but TDOT might require a turn lane out there on Long Haul Pike area. I know there's asked about some signals, traffic signals. I understand it isn't more any kind of traffic signals at the intersection of Allen and Long Haul Pike. So turn lanes was the key component out there. All right, back to staff stipulations. 1, house designs to comply with the plan unit development ordinance. That includes our minimum garage requirement. Garage size, we require minimum 22 by 22 interior dimension for 2-car garages. And the building materials. We would need, if it's approved, we would need more details on the final master plan. But I just want to make that note. That's our requirements now, so that's going to have to comply with. We just want to make sure that we see the additional details on the plans to put that in writing, and also get the design on how they plan to do their garages, the orientation of the garages. 2, a revised traffic study to be sent to TDOT for the 72 lots to determine any required traffic improvements out there at Long Haul Pike intersection. We would want to see that with the final master plan, and also with that to review any off-site road improvements like we talked about. That was based on our traffic engineer consultant. That was what we felt like would be the best going forward. So we're trying to honor one, the concerns about the safety and also the speed out there. So trying to look at improvements that would kind of help with one and not create problems anymore with the other. And that defines that what we talked about. City staff recommendation for 1 foot of shoulder on each side from Oaks Oven Road out to Long Haul Pike and final paving striping Al Road along the project frontage. Motion options: 1, be approved the revised master plan, including the defined staff stipulations to be approved at the final master plan. 2, this board could deny it and maintain the existing development design, the 71 lots, and the Allen Road improvements as defined. And then, or 3, defer to include additional information as requested by the Planning Commission.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, sir?
Yes, sir. Basically, when we started laying out this layout, like last month, we were looking at 120 lots. Then we kind of went back and started reviewing the development, going off the original 71 lots, and making 2 entrances. It's more conducive to our fire and rescue to be able to get into all areas of the property. Also, there will be a 50-foot wood buffer all the way around, wood line buffer all the way around the development. That will help with erosion control and things like that. We have minimum 50-foot lots, and then it'll be ½ acre to 3/4 up to acre. And all your custom homes have a minimum of 2 garage, maybe 3. You'll have a lot of brick homes. We'll stay within the requirements that Goodlettsville is requiring as far as your exterior looks, and they'll all be custom homes. And they'll be, and the way we looked at it was we wanted to put a very cool, very nice, very attractive development for Goodlettsville. So when people pull into that, it wouldn't be like, for lack of better terminology, the cookie cutter type project where 50% of your homes look the same, they just change the elevations. So you would have a variety of different custom homes that will help the value of the community, and also, keeping wildlife within there because of our buffers. And, we want to make it very attractive.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn this over to the board for any questions or comments. I'll start off with one question. I noticed that one of the houses is, that you have listed here was it 1,000 square foot, or 2 of them are 1,000 square foot? Am I reading that right?
Are you referring to the elevation, the sample homes?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are you referring to the sample homes?
Yes.
So those are just, they were just there to give a rough idea. So we have a custom home builder. So more than likely these will be, 2,000 to 3,000 square foot homes.
3,000 plus square foot homes.
Yeah, it'd be a big no for me if there was 1,000 square foot home with no garage.
No, these will all be higher end custom. Those are just some samples of kind of what they've done in other places, but obviously that smaller one was just kind of a material example, less so than a physical example.
Well, that was very confusing to me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, because we kind of I asked for garage style homes, and this particular one that was built can be built larger with putting your garage, attaching it to the back of the house if we went with that plan, but more than likely that plan won't be built here.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes, so, Mr. Chairman, I've got a whole page full of questions, but I'll just try to decipher as I get around here. First question is the Tennessean published an article about this project. It talked about the square footage, I think, and I may be wrong, so correct me, 3,500 to 5,000 square foot? Mm-hmm. Is that true or false?
I haven't read that article, but we will meet the requirements since these lots start at ½ acre lots. And actually, Mr. Patel could probably respond to that. But the original plan were for ½ acre lots. These are bigger lots.
Correct.
So we will be able to build bigger home sites to be custom homes.
Correct. So, Mr. Patel, yeah, please, sir.
The Tennessean article was correct, 35 to 5,000 square foot homes. So, obviously our goal is that once we get the lots done, is we find somebody that wants to move to Goodlettsville and we can build a custom home for them. There's no reason we want to build 3,000, 2,500 square foot homes. We'd rather build them 3,500 square foot and above. We already have probably around 17 to 18 people that want to build 4,000 plus square foot homes. So our goal is to ensure that we try to do at least 3,000 and 3,500 square foot homes. The reason there was changes, I know there was a comment made earlier on that we keep on coming back hoping that we'll get changes, but everything depends on a builder. We're the developer for the lots itself, and there's a whole bunch of builders that want to come and build properties. So the reason we came here twice before was original builders were wanting to do them. So we stepped back, and what I thought was, let's develop the property, let's get nice lots where people want to come in there and design their own home. They can pick from a few architects and design their own home. We actually have a custom builder that Collier's Engineering work with that actually do that. So if somebody picks out a lot, they can go to their design center and take a look at whatever floor plans there are. Definitely we don't want to build a 1,000 square foot home and people can't afford it on there. So our goal is to do 3,500 square foot or above. You know, could be 3,200, could be 6,000. Most of the homes that I know that we've got right now are going to be around the 4,000, 4,500 square foot homes. So, you know, the lower it is, the value is not going to be there.
Correct.
So we do want to make sure that, and we redesigned the whole plan, so we've got bigger lots than what we originally had.
Yes.
From what it was. So take into consideration of the neighborhood, and everybody's got concerns. I'm pretty sure that the homes that people live in right now at one time was under the same development. So, you know, give us an opportunity over here to prove ourselves. We may only build 2 or 3 homes of our own where we're going to stay in. But I do know that the people that are going to buy a lot at a valued lot, they're not going to build no 1,000 square foot or 2,000 square foot home. They want to build a valuable lot. Just like Copper Creek, the last bit they're doing right now, we've got 2 family members, actually 3 of them, that bought on the Copper Creek side. It's a 4,000 square foot home. They paid $1.3 million for it. Half the size of the lots over here. So, you know, they're just kind of waiting for this to come across. It's been challenging times. You know, obviously we started this in 2018. When COVID hit, I don't think anybody wanted to develop anything. Everybody was in safety mode back then. Since then, we've had other developers come along. So I do acknowledge that, you know, as a developer, I did fail. Didn't move forward with what I said I was, trying to get the right people. But after listening to the concerns of the neighborhood, I felt like, let's stick to our word. Let's build a nice community. It's probably going to end up costing a lot more now, having that second entrance and doing some road improvements. You know, whatever we can do, we're definitely up for that challenge, knowing that we can have some of the costs in there. But the engineers, between the engineers and our city officials, you know, every guidance from you guys will be, and we'll make sure that our neighborhood, as much as I can, I want to stick to my word. So if I failed anybody, I promise you I want to try to make it back again. So, you know, that's my word. Again, I know that a few of you did have the concerns, but we're here again to try to do the right things and not try to make a cluster of 120 units into one building. But we did have a nice builder that was wanting to take down 100 of them lots to build some nice $600,000-700,000 homes. But after listening to all the concerns, we just kind of scrapped that idea. So we're back again with larger lots, and, you know, who knows? We'll try to make it look nice again. So every support will be counted. Thank you.
Stay
Mr. Patel.
right there a second. I'm sorry.
Mr. Patel, let me ask you a quick question. There's a lot of questions about the square footage. Is that something, say it gets approved tonight, goes forward to the final master plan, is that something you all could define with the covenants, a minimum square footage?
Yeah, I think so.
We can do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you know, if we had to sit here and say we want to do a 2,500 square foot home, I'd personally say no. But if we say, you know, $3,200 or 3,200 or 3,500 and above, I think that's a comfortable number. And I don't know what the restrictions will be, but you got one gentleman that's been in the Springfield area. He wants to build an 11,000 square foot home. Well, he may have to get 2 lots and build 11,000 square foot.
I think that'd be great.
So, you know, we want to try to work towards that. And everything on Allen Road, when you go past the turn, especially where Miss Allie and Mr. Shane live, you know, it's a valued area there. So we want to try to make sure that the lots up front are nice lots too. We don't want to devalue anybody's home, but at the same time, safety. And I do understand the road is kind of slow, but, you know, unfortunately that road's been there way before we were there, and everybody that lives in Copper Creek, they have a main entrance, but sometimes we got to use the back entrance. Every time I go to Copper Creek, I always come down Allen Road, even though the first entrance is the most easiest one, but I come down Allen Road because I got a family member that lives just at Fall Creek, so it's just more convenient. And I do agree that that road is a little dangerous, but whatever we can do to help towards contributing towards it, we're more than happy to do that too.
So you're good for doing any type of additions to Allen Road?
Yeah, providing it's within reason. But I'm hoping that it goes same for everybody else, right? You got Copper Creek. You've got some property that belongs to Sumner County. The county doesn't have nothing to do with Goodlettsville.
Correct.
And if we take everything into consideration, I don't know how we would get easements to put sidewalks and curb and gutter there. That's just. I'm not sure how that works, but that would be just outreach. I don't think it would happen in anybody's lifetime over here, unfortunately. So. But yeah, we're open to making some improvements. I mean, it's not like it's a major improvement, but safety and stuff, we're all for it. And even with Copper Creek, I know I was looking through their guidance of how they should be building homes. Not everybody sticks to what they say they're going to do. Sometimes the elevations and stuff changes. But as long as it works for everybody's safety, we're not here to try to make enemies with anybody. We're here to do a good thing. And I plan on staying here. I want to try to do the right thing, and hopefully a few years from now, we can all circle back again. I may have something else new, and obviously my word will be my bond right there, that if I come up here that you guys say I can. But unfortunately, this one's been a little difficult to get out of the ground just because of the topo and the way it's been. But I'm glad we got Collier's Engineering, because they've kind of revamped it a lot, and that second entrance should make a good difference for us. So thank you all.
Can I ask a question, piggyback off your question?
Yes, sir.
In 2018, when you first came, did you signify a certain square footage at that time?
I think so, yeah. I think we were talking from 3,500 to 5,000 square feet. It could have been more. It could have been 4,000, but it's been so long. But I definitely know it was up there.
Okay.
It wasn't on the smaller side, so.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Patel, just another thing. So, I appreciate you wanting to bring a good product to the city. Myself, I've been open about it. We need to raise our standards, I feel like. I'm just one person, but we need to raise our standards on building and building construction in the city. I think it's just going to be nothing but bring success to our area. But with the road upgrades, the square footage, you said you do have a builder, a developer, or a builder now?
Well, there's a custom builder that Collier's Engineering have worked with in the past. So, they've shown some interest on it, but, obviously we've got options. If we develop the lots and we put them out there and say, hey, you want to build your dream home, somebody's going to come and say, hey, I want to buy a lot, and it doesn't matter what the price is, right? They can build their own home, because at that point, you're going to be able to build your own home for a lot less. Now, we could have a developer come in there that will build custom homes, build them quick. Then we got to look for somebody to buy them. So I look at it like, if we get the development done and we find the buyers that want to build a dream home, these custom home builders will build the same thing. There's plenty of people out there that will do it, but just we don't want too many developers in one subdivision. We just want to have the right one. And our goal is to have Collier's Engineering just manage the whole project from start to finish.
Okay.
So there's no gray areas anywhere, and we don't have any issues. I mean, we feel comfortable with what they've did so far and what they've done in the past too. So.
All right, so one more thing. So what would the time frame be? What would we be looking at?
Site-wise.
If we get an approval this evening, we will start working on plans tomorrow. And then David can give an update on how long it would take us to get through the plans for submittal for our grading plans, construction, preliminary plats. So we're looking at probably about 6
I would hope
months.
by late summer, fall, we'd be ready to start pulling permits and whatnot and start grading, but depends
Okay.
on how long it takes to get through everything. But
All right, and then with the plan, it shows the nice buffer going around the property, protecting the existing homes that are there.
yeah, so we'll keep we're going to keep a minimum of 50 on that. What is that? The east side. We'll leave what's there already. There's an existing tree stand on that top northeast side, as well as protecting all that wetland with the required buffer to not encroach on that east side.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gilmore. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Parnell? Okay, sir, thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. He does bring up a great question. So that's not going to be considered your buffer though, right?
No, we'll have a landscape architect that will specify a certain number of, your tall trees, your bushes, planted at a linear feet to make sure that buffer is substantial and not just either brush or tall trees that you can see through.
And so all the earth that's been moved, obviously that's got to be cleaned up before we start, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because the good thing about Collier Engineering is we have full landscape architecture staff, we do our own geotech, we have our own surveyors, we do everything in-house. So this has kind of been studied very thoroughly. I'll be over the whole project, and I spent a lot of time. I probably walked this piece of property a long time, probably a dozen times. I've been on the road doing a traffic study, so I kind of try to look at things from the bigger side of the picture to see what can make it better for the development and for the community. And my background is I've spent probably 15 years playing softball at Moss Wright Park, running the leagues several years ago, back in my younger days. So, I still spend a lot of time in Goodlettsville and all that, and Hendersonville, but mostly in Goodlettsville, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
No, that's good. Do you happen to know, we talked a little bit about topo and the topography has been a challenge with the design. Do you happen to know what the slope is on the new entrance? A roundabout, kind of a general?
Yeah, it should fall, we've meandered it a little bit to hopefully hit the 10% grade going down, which is a requirement of the fire trucks. It's 10 to 12, I believe.
Okay.
But we'll meet the city requirements for the downward slope for the fire. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was going to be able to meet the requirements, because I knew it was challenging.
Yeah, I think we've meandered it enough, and we're going to be doing some topography updates on that top side, so it'll meet the requirements for sure.
Okay. Okay, very good.
And then we'll balance the site as well as best we can to make it not where it's up and down hills and mountains, and it's going to be a very, very well laid out development.
Yeah. Well, we'll say, looking at the layout makes a lot of sense. I like what you've done with it. The lot sizes being a minimum of a half acre and a whole bunch of them. Actually, I guess maybe is it a majority? Being 3/4 of an acre?
I think there's 22 3/4 and above, and about 50 that are at least half acre.
It's a good sized lot. To be honest, my lot was 0.7 acres and it was too daggum big. It drove me crazy, but at the same time, I like that size lots for these larger homes. I think this is a good product. We've had some good subdivisions built in our city, and it's time we get another one, in my opinion.
One thing with this, and I think it's been lost a little bit, is we don't plan to just immediately build all the homes. So with a custom home builder, we'll prepare the sites, but they'll kind of be built as somebody purchases a lot, as opposed to slapping 5 of one product and 6 of another. So that'll be a little different.
Yeah. Has there, it's okay either way, but I did see, I guess what we would call a DADU, detached accessory dwelling unit, in one of these samples, and not,
Yeah, they won't
no
be
plan?
those. No, those are just kind of, send me something that shows me the exterior, what we're looking at with all brick or 75 or 80% brick and, hardy or things like that, and that's kind of what they sent us. This is kind of the quality of the home they built. Those 2 particular homes, the one-story home that has no garage because of where they had to build it did not allow a garage. That house sold for almost $900,000. The 2-story, there's actually, in part of the rendition, there is a 2-car garage kind of on the side, and it may not have got transferred into this, but that's a $1.2 million.
Okay.
So because of the 2-story, and, they'll have top-of-the-line interior, like Lot 10 up here in the top, that's going to be a great lot, so.
We don't have a site-specific layout plan yet, but we could definitely have one before, when we bring back full comprehensive plans for y'all to review. That would better show what will actually be built on this site. Those were kind of just, what has this builder done elsewhere that we could bring, so you at least have some concept of what materiality these homes may be built.
Would there, and just from a design, I'm not saying that I want this, I'm asking for your opinion on a design standpoint. Would there be any benefit to taking the walking trail between the larger lots, between the, like in the backyards of lots 14 to 26 and 27 to 39? Would there be any benefit to taking that walking trail, kind of meandering through the backyards of that, or would that be a negative to your buyers?
No, that was kind of more like, just because that was a green space, to kind of make like a little walking trail area. So, I mean, that could be taken away. So you don't have somebody walking through your backyard all the time.
I don't think it's either way. I mean, with the topography, it may be hard to run it through those. Are you wanting to run it north through those ones facing back to back?
I lived in a subdivision in Texas that had something similar, and to us, it was an asset, but our yards were tiny. We weren't as private as these were. We weren't as wealthy and as expensive as these are going to be. So I'm just trying to figure out if that would be an asset to this community or a detriment. And I honestly don't know the answer.
That's something we could dig into if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing, and talk with Mr. Patel and some of the clients to see, what they'd like to see.
Okay.
Or, I mean, we could look at possibly extending it through towards that wetland area if, you wanted more scenic across the street walking, along the wetland, or if y'all would like that as well.
Yeah.
We could definitely investigate it some more.
Because I agree, the idea of sidewalks through here that's such wasted money along Allen Road. But if there's, if the people of this community.
We do have sidewalks spec'd on both sides currently, on all the roads.
Within the neighborhood, sure.
Yes, within
Yeah.
the neighborhood, all the way
Yeah.
through to Allen Road.
Mr. Chairman, you mind if I ask one question?
Go right ahead.
Mr. Patel, following up on a question that Mr. McCormick asked a minute ago about the square footage, you were referring to living space, correct? Not garage and living space?
No, just living space, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Could you commit to 3,500 square feet minimum living space?
Correct, yes, sir. I mean, I've never counted garages as living space.
No,
but yeah.
most
Yes, sir.
people don't, but
Yeah, I think
a
it'd be a
lot
valuable
of people
home.
take words and.
Correct, yeah. I mean, you could have a 900 square foot garage and bring that home down, but I don't think that was the intention there. We definitely want
No,
to be
I
plus
know
plus.
what-
And is that correct on your end too? Yeah, I mean, definitely, yes, it would
I
be
just kind
living
of want
space.
to get it clarified now instead of having a problem later.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. No, it's better to have it on the record, whatever we've got, so, thanks.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Back to what Mr. Parnell was saying, you're saying extend, instead of cutting that walking trail, turn it back in there to the right, just run it straight through 14, through 25 and 28, is that what you're saying? Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, what's the difference of not having privacy on them first few and then the other half, so I think I just say I think it's a great idea. Just something to consider.
Yeah, if you'd like that, we can slide that.
We'll just kind of shift down the lots a little bit on the 27 through 39, kind of drop them a little bit and run that walking trail.
It's not a necessity, but that was a good idea. I mean, it gives a whole lot more walking space and that's kind of the thing nowadays.
Well, I'm a walker, so to me, I would enjoy being able to walk out my backyard and hit the trail and walk through my community. But again, I'm not paying $1.5 million for a house. And if I paid $1.5 million for a house, I might not want anybody walking in my backyard. So I cannot relate to that. I have no idea what those people would want. And I don't want to force it one way or the other, but I just it was just an idea as I saw it.
We could definitely investigate it, and then when we bring it back to you guys, if there's more consideration through that, we can discuss it further, if that's something y'all would like to see.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, a lot of people like to walk now, and
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Mr. McNeil.
You have a note here on the drawing, says existing woods and vegetation to remain a minimum 50-foot buffer. The existing families that are in this complex, how do they get back to Allen Road from where they are?
Can you repeat what you're asking, I guess? We shouldn't be cutting off anyone, I guess. Can you clarify the question a little bit?
Oh. How does the existing houses there get from their place back to Allen Road?
We shouldn't be cutting anyone off. There shouldn't be
Yeah.
anyone coming through this property currently.
So there's a road, I guess there's a road going to Allen Road for them already.
Well, the note doesn't say a road, it says existing woods and vegetation.
So that's the edge of our property line is that edge of that gray there. That's some existing vegetation we're gonna leave there as a buffer. But that lot in the corner will access the road there to get out to Allen Road.
It's hadn't thought of it, but it is a good question. So the properties that are abutting, I guess it would be the west property line of your property there. It looks like, I don't know, let's see, Jerry Pollock, Mary Bradley. Like, I don't know where those lots, I don't know if they reach all the way down to Long Hollow. I don't know where they
would have
go,
access
Grady,
somewhere
but
else. We don't have any easements on this property currently for them to come through, so they have access somewhere else.
it's not blocking them, but I must admit, I don't know
Yeah,
how those lots are accessed. Okay.
Yeah, they either go to Long Hollow or there's another road that way that they connect to, but they don't come through ours currently.
Okay.
And we looked at like right-of-way dedications of future properties, but, you know, with elevations and things back there, it's kind of hard. All those properties kind of got some extreme elevation on them.
Are there
so-
some that are landlocked back there?
I don't think about landlocked. I don't know where I'd have to look where those come out. I see what you're saying. The way the
She said-
land lays, it's
She
it's
said they
different.
came out to all the way to Long Hollow, is that correct?
She mentioned the Lassiter property, which is the large one, yeah, where your pencil is.
Yeah, they would either connect on Allen Farms further down or off to Long Hollow.
Those properties belong to that west side of the big, Ralph Bradley, Pollock, Flat, Brown, that all accesses up to one of those lots. They're long, deep lots.
Okay.
Big.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion, and the motion should include references to what we talked about. We talked about the amount of brick. Is that correct? We talked about 3,500 square foot minimum house. There was a talk of the road improvements. What else was there?
Mr. Chairman, I guess, staff, was there anything, what recommendations does our city staff have regarding Allen Road improvements that should be attached to this development, if any?
Yeah, if you all agree with what we presented or different kind of ideas, yeah, that was one of the stipulations, number 3. That we recommend the 1-foot shoulder on each side from Oldstone to Long Hollow, and then final paving, striping Allen Road along the project frontage. Typically, that'd be closer when it's done.
Aaron, Adam, was that 1 foot paved or 1 foot gravel? I forget what you had said.
Well, we talked about gravel today, the shoulder. We would be open to either one. That was from our traffic review out there on site. Our engineer felt like from Oldstone, Copper Creek back, the traffic was much higher, and that'd be the bang. 'Cause, I mean, to build all of Allen Road would be rather expensive. And we have a consultant engineer that reviewed the traffic study, if there's any questions on that, but the traffic study will have to be revised to reflect the reduced lots. Russell, you got it.
And as Mr. McCormick mentioned, with regard to the final plan, with regard to the square footage, that'll be in the restrictions, covenants, and conditions and for the square footage.
And to me, the final plan is what we asked for now. If you remember on Moncrief behind us here, they had to show how their garage is going to be laid out, the minimum, and then like a footprint. Of course, we don't, we'll have material requirements, minimum garage requirements, but we won't actually have details of every house design other than those minimum. But yeah, the minimum square footage, we'll request that to be recorded with it, the covenants.
Since he's looking at maybe not one developer, but multiple, the amount of garages front versus back, how's that going to play into this?
It'll have to be on the plan defined, because right now we only allow 33% front, I know it's a weird number, front loaded. Then all other designs could be recessed front, courtyards, side loaded. That needs to be on the master plan. We'll need to see a detail of how that's going to be done. If they do want to do front loaded, they need to detail which ones will be, because we don't want them on all of them where
Right.
ordinance words.
So they would have to
Sounds preferable that you all would rather have.
sell their lots accordingly, that this house has to have.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just had one question just to clarify something. So originally, it was zoned for 71 lots.
That was what was originally approved, yeah.
So now we're asking for an extra lot.
And actually, that extra lot, Adam, can you pull it back up for me? There's already an existing home, and that's where your extra lot comes from. It stays.
Which home?
Yeah.
Right there.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah, that house is not that old. It's pretty large, too. It's probably roughly 4,500 square feet. And it was probably built 2015-ish, sometime in there. It's not old. It's not an old home.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about face there on the Allen Road side.
Yeah, it's actually.
It's in the elbow there.
It's in the elbow there, right in front of the wetland.
Yeah.
So it's the one that looks like a little, it's lot 208.
I don't know if it's for sale, but it's back there. It's been.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion, approve, deny, or defer. And if you approve, mention the stipulations.
May I make another suggestion before we make a motion? I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
In talking about the front-loaded and the side-loaded and the rear-loaded, all the different types of garages, could we, Adam, could we specify that the front-loadeds be limited to the half-acre lots, or maybe, I guess there's some that are up to .54, so maybe we just limit those in any of the larger lots. So honestly, I wouldn't want to see any front-loaded houses in these larger lots. I just don't want to see it on that part of the subdivision.
You talking about these back here, these?
It would be lots, I guess, 40 to 57, 40, maybe to 40 to 50, 63.
probably
Maybe
limit
those
it.
could have front-loaded, but all these others, lots 1 through, I guess, 39, I wouldn't want to see front-loaded
We
on
could,
those.
we could limit them to that north inside section if y'all would like, and just specify those as a front-loaded. I don't know how many front-loaded we'll have, but if we do have front-loaded, we can put them in that northern center side where they're smaller, as opposed to some of the nicer on the edge and entrance.
Can you give me lot numbers so I understand what you're?
We could limit it to, 14 through 39, somewhere in there. If we were to do any of the front-loaded, we could just put them there. So it'd be that north internal section of the loop.
I think those are the ones I probably wouldn't want to see it in.
Are
You
those
probably,
larger? Oh,
yeah, you
40
may be
to
thinking about 40 all the way down to
Yeah, I'm thinking the smaller
57.
lots.
Yeah, and that could probably work perfect there.
Yeah, I don't know how many we'll have, but we can limit it to the smaller ones.
Does that make sense?
You would want that on the final master plan, that will have to come back to us, right? You'll want that specified.
Okay.
So you're just saying your allowance for the front load to be limited to a defined area. That's what you're thinking. If they agree to it.
Lot size. What's the, my thought based on this follow-up is it looks like you got a stretch there of the half-acre lots, and then you jump over to some .54, .52. So my thought is to get into that 33%, and they seem to be pretty grouped up. Maybe place it on a lot size versus you see, because you got, I don't know, I'd leave it up to these guys, but it sounds reasonable to put it on a lot size maybe than a defined area. Because it looks as if this is the plan that's going to be close, they're going to be pretty grouped up anyway.
And those are, I know it was looking at it on a piece of paper, but 100 foot by 240 foot under even your smallest lots. I mean, I don't know if we really have we've seen that big in a long time. That's a big lot, even on the small lot, so.
Yeah, I believe you can get a rear entrance on 100 wide without any problem, because the lots are fairly deep, too.
So it really just depends, I guess since there is that threshold, they would, if they want to do any front loaded, we need to know where they're at, the number, because we want to make sure it don't go over a percentage. I guess that'd be, if there is a place to find, that'd be more generally the areas we'd want to see them, but I know y'all prefer not even seeing those, but,
Yeah, like I said, I don't think we've gotten that far, but I don't think we'll have a ton of front-loaded, spec home style. I think side-loaded, rear-loaded would be preferred at this price point for sure, so.
Well, with the,
no
I guess
problem
from
either way.
lots 40 to 63 being the ones around the walking trail, if the walking trail is kind of seeing the backyards of those houses, I would be almost more, I wouldn't want a rear-loaded garage on those, because that's what the walking trail is now seeing. So I would either want front or side, and I'd probably want side. But if you're gonna do front, if there's any front, I would want them from lot 40 to 63.
We can play around with it, too.
If we did this in that one area, does that not look cookie cutter? With having a 33% front-loaded rule, you're thinking that it's going to be dispersed throughout the subdivision.
Okay, could we say a 33% of lots 40 to 63?
I'm just saying, that if we did that's one area, it almost looks like the whole subdivision is then front-loaded.
I agree.
I mean, if you guys aren't opposed, we could play around with the layout and bring it back to y'all, or we could submit it to Adam prior to the next meeting to see what his opinions are. Because like I said, I don't know how many we'll have, and we could give you a couple layouts to see what you guys would prefer more, once you see it.
Yeah, once we kind of get into the design of it.
Would you agree to no front-loaded anywhere except lots 40 to 63, and only 33% of those be front-loaded? Would you agree to that?
What is that, 7?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Okay. That sounds
And if you have
more
something-
reasonable to me as well.
And if you have something within that breakdown, it could, a custom builder want a side entry? And could you have front, and a side? And just kind of, so it don't look cookie cutter?
Right.
Because you may have somebody that's got, oh, it doesn't bother me that I have the
Yeah, as long as
The
we
walkway
don't have
behind
more,
us?
so.
I'd rather have, instead of everybody driving down the street, my garage door is wide open, they see all my stuff. I don't mind if they see all my stuff in the back.
Yeah,
And they can put basketball goals, whatever they want.
yeah,
And just kind
perfect,
of adjust them, since there are really big lots.
perfect.
If somebody's paying $1 million, yeah, they may or may not want that front loaded, but we can tinker around with it based on the client and whatever to make it work good for you guys and look really attractive.
Okay. Okay, are we ready for a motion now? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for either approval, denial, or deferral.
Adam, can you put the options back up, please? Hey, I move to approve with house designs meeting a minimum of 3,500 square feet of living space and a minimum of a 2-car garage, meeting our city ordinances, with the revised traffic study to be presented to TDOT, and with the off-site Allen Road roadway improvements, including the shoulder improvements of 1 foot on each side of Old Stone Road and from Old Stone Road and Long Hollow Pike, and final paving and striping of Allen Road along the project frontage. And the limitation of front-loaded houses to lots 40 to 63, and a maximum of 33% of those being front-loaded, the rest having to be side or rear-loaded garage.
We have a motion with stipulations. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I want to make one adjustment to it. I don't want to make it, if we can do this, Jeff, I don't want to make it mandatory that it has to be front entrance on all them, that it's optional.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
They could all be rear or side.
okay,
But
yeah,
no more than 33%.
okay, thank you.
So I have a motion. We have a second by Mr. McNeil. Are there any further discussions?
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask
Mhm.
Ms. Cornell, if we can add to this, that these stipulations, including the ones you've added, will be able to be reviewed in the final master plan process. Mr. McCormick, would that not be what we need?
Yes, that's the way the rest of them are worded. The rest of the stipulations, yes, it'd be with the final
Whoever
master
made the
plan.
motion, I forget his name.
I revise my motion to include the stipulation that the changes being made here would be reviewed and approved through a final master plan.
Do you still second this motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussions?
Mr. Chairman, I would just say, Mr. Patel, you hear what the board's saying, you hear the direction we're wanting to go with building products and the type of structures that we'd like to see.
Any further questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Thank you guys for all the work and putting up with us, trying to get this through the process. But thank you all for trying so hard to work with us.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for your time and all your hard work and your service. We greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to bringing you guys a great product.
Are we ready for number 8 now? I've lost count. Yeah. Item number 8, The staff request recommendation to the city commission to amend the zoning ordinance section to include section to permit agricultural product sales. Adam?
All right, if you remember a couple of months ago, we talked about this. I had a request received for the property on Madison Creek. You know, the lot where the trailer was, it's gone across from Madison Creek Elementary. I had a proposal to do like a farm, like a fruit and farm stand, agricultural product stand. Currently, we don't allow that. So this ordinance would be to create a provision through our Board of Zoning and Sign Appeals to review a conditional use. You know, I thought about this a lot. Our goal is not to compete with our grocery stores. You know, we don't want to have a full functioning store out there in the middle of a neighborhood in our 40 zone districts. But there are provisions where I could see this on small scale. So that's why I tried to limit the scale of it down. But this would be just through conditional use to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Number one, only in the R40 and agricultural zone districts. It'd be through the Board of Zoning Appeals conditional reuse. The building would be limited to 2,000 square feet with no more than 1,000 square feet for outdoor sales displays. Try to think of different food, farmers markets I've seen where there's like the building and then they have like their outside, they have straw or pumpkins or something like that. I try to think of a smaller building where it'd be effective, but then not too big to blow the scale out. The building would have to meet our design guidelines regarding the materials. If there are walls, I mean, typically these are just pavilion type construction. So it would be if there are walls and the roof would meet our standards. They would have to provide a plan showing the limited use and scale, one parking place per 250 square feet. So we want to make sure that off-street parking, the driveway would have to be paved or concrete, and at least the handicap accessible areas be paved or concrete. Number the D, the intention is for it to be local grown and produce, food, and materials are permitted. So they have to present where they plan to source their food materials. Like I said, the goal is not to compete with our grocery stores. That these be more locally produced and grown kind of things like a farmer's market. And E, they would have to provide have their business operation include their hours, any kind of special events they're planning, and their food trucks. That way the board can make sure of the limited scale. We're in no hurry on this. I just want to put this together with something we talked about. I can see where this could be a benefit. The key would be just to limit the scale of it. But I really want to get it out, just get your all's discussion on it, because there was someone interested in possibly doing it in that location. I think in that location of all of them would be good just due to its location on a main road, because you really don't have houses right around it like you do in other areas.
So this would be on Madison Creek?
That's where the request was, but this would be in any of our R40 and ag zone districts. Those are on Hit Lane. We got them on Patton Branch, Madison Creek. I mean, we could further limit it if y'all feel like it's too much.
So it has to be a brick structure with paid parking and, okay.
If they're going to have walls, most of the time they don't have walls, but I would think in those neighborhoods they wouldn't want us to do like a metal barn or anything. That's why I was trying to. It's just kind of tricky. I'm trying to create like a commercial building like we normally would, but then realize it's not really going to be a full-blown commercial. That's not our intent. But we don't want to create an unfair advantage for somebody just to go pop out in the neighborhood and do something, or that if they build it in commercial, they wouldn't be able to do so. Like I said, we're in no hurry on this. If y'all don't feel at this point, I just want to kind of get it going forward. So,
any questions for Adam on this? So we don't need to vote on this or anything?
Of course, I put it on the agenda. I researched it, prepared it, where I'd be comfortable if y'all want to go forward with it. This is a request someone asked for. We said that we thought we liked the idea, so I'm bringing it forward. It's not like someone's requested to rezone this property or do something, but I just wanted to bring it up to you guys. In other words, if y'all don't feel comfortable with it, it's not the end of the world.
The only thing that comes to my mind is to me it does compete with Kroger and Publix and other places who have to, they have to have a lot of overhead with, building style and parking and all that. And times I've gone to these places, I've never paid sales tax, so that could hurt the city as well. That's just my thoughts.
I feel like it more competes with Sprouts.
What?
I feel like it competes more with Sprouts.
Yeah.
But this is basically, this isn't a blank check. This is putting it into our matrix as a special exception, correct?
That's correct, yes. It would have to go through the Board of Zoning Appeals, public hearing, notices to neighbors. That's the good thing about that process, so.
Yeah. But it opens the door for somebody to recognize that this is a possibility, whereas today it's not a
That's correct.
possibility.
We have, in our ag districts, if they grow something like someone grew corn, they can do it for like 60 days a year. That's temporary, but that's only in the ag district, so.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm picturing the Mennonites over in West Tennessee kind of farming and selling stuff on their farm. But I must admit, I don't, in R40, I'm having a hard time with that in R40.
The reason R40, one on Madison Creek, that's what it's zoned for, they're making the request.
Okay.
And we do allow ag uses in R40, that's why I was trying to lump it together. But. Yes. You can. They typically wouldn't do it in the floodway, the floodplain. You can. It would be a structure. That's why I said I would assume this thing would not have walls if they build it. It'd be more like a pavilion type. You wouldn't want to put a lot of money in a structure in the floodplain, but you can. You just have to elevate it, make sure. Of course, in an open pavilion, water can go through, but the floodway, no, not in the floodway portion. So.
So would somebody like to make a motion in regards to this? And one of the motions could be to defer to another meeting when we have more information, is that correct?
You could approve it or deny it or defer it.
I'll open this up to the board then for a motion.
Yeah, this is not a requested item from like a subdivision or rezoning. I mean, we have someone asking to do this, and we've talked about it, but this board does not have to take any action anytime soon. Yeah. You could just defer it until additional information provided by the applicant, so.
I just put out there that, you know, it's right across the street from the school. There's residents right next door. There's residents across the street. So having commercial property right there in the middle. Just kind of throw that out there, you know. It's not really an ideal place for a commercial business. That's my 2 cents. As Jeff would say, I'm one person.
I'll make a motion, we defer
Move to defer indefinitely?
indefinitely.
Okay. We have a motion to defer. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. We'll take this up at a later date.
All right.
Item number 9.
I was just keeping it in the hopper.
I was looking at my watch earlier, and I thought it said 8:15. I said, boy, I'm tired. It's 7:15, so we're doing good. Request recommendation to the Goodlettsville City Commission to amend the zoning ordinance section to find additional permitted commercial uses within the interchange overlay district. Anybody here representing that? Adam?
Yes, the request tonight, what it basically boils down to, the Fifth Third Bank here, they've got worked a deal with the Shoney's ownership to do a land lease to build a bank facility, drive-through bank, as shown here, kind of a layout plan here at the corner of Long Haul Pike, North Creek. It's the Shoney's property. Right now, it's in our interchange overlay. The interchange overlay allows defined uses, and the financial use of the bank is not included. So they're requesting, several months ago, well, over a year probably now, we looked at removing this property from the interchange overlay, and we said no. So I told them, we could look at that again, or 2, look at amending the interchange overlay to incorporate the bank use in it. And they're here to explain how they feel like it would fit within it. But the goal would be to demolish the Shoney's building, reconstruct this facility there. Last month, a couple months ago, we changed the exit 98 overlay. Of course, we included different uses, including this, but different uses, but that was for the exit 98. This proposal, would at the exit 96, 97, banks will be a permitted use in that overlay also.
Any questions for Adam? Discussions?
And that's basically all the amendment is just incorporating that financial bank in the overlay. And of course, options would be, this is a recommendation to the city commission to approve with that, or recommend denial or deferral if there's any additional questions.
I thought one of the reasons we did this overlay was to promote retail uses.
Yeah, the interchange overlay, the goal was to really maximize off the interstate traffic. And generally those do. Like what's permitted now, restaurant, gas station, those things are sales tax reducing uses.
To me, that's just that lot, all those Shoney's, I mean, I didn't go to Shoney's there for 10 years, but I would have liked to have had a place to go, that I trusted the food. And I used to be a manager at Shoney's, but anyway, it's, to me, that spot's just begging for a nice restaurant or some type of retail facility. That's just my opinion.
And they have some insight in dealing with the Shoney's group and the property when we met with them.
Mr. Chairman, I don't disagree with you about, the restaurant and this and that. That was one of the things we always hoped for. Unfortunately, to put this delicately, there is certain restrictions with what the property owner is wanting, that there is only a limited handful of people that can take on that lease. And this is one that has, I know we say we can wait and see what comes. I'm not opposed to that, but I can tell you that this has been probably the toughest property owner to work out something with it that I've ever seen. And I'll stop there.
Are you here representing this item? Or do you have anything to say? I'm sorry, I thought I asked that. I didn't see you raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name's Sean Henry. I'm an attorney representing Fifth Third, and with me is Chad Penley. He's the real estate director, and he can add some color to his negotiations regarding the lease. But when you look at your interchange overlay district and the purpose of that district, I'm actually surprised that the financial component is not permitted when you've got traffic coming and going, to and from Nashville. Being able to pull off, being able to get money out of an ATM conveniently and carry about your business, that not only serves the interstate traffic, but folks who are also living here in Goodlettsville, doing business here. And that particular corner, as much as a restaurant, retail type operation there would be a high generator of sales tax, it assumes you can get in and out of there. And so that's a busy corner, it's a busy intersection. And so it would be tough to really do well there as a retailer because of the traffic constraints. Meanwhile, this financial institution, basically a 9-to-5 operation, except for the ATM machine. And so from a global perspective and looking at surrounding properties, of course, you've got the adjacent property under construction right now for the coffee shop. And when you factor in this location, the off-site impacts with traffic, This will have no impacts whatsoever. It's going to capture that drive-by traffic that's already occurring, plus the interstate traffic for people to get on and off and get some money out of the machine. So we would ask for your support. We were glad to hear that there was already a consideration for the same thing at the interchange to the north, at the Louisville Highway interchange. So we thought it made sense to sort of join that same mindset and allow this type of use to be at both interchanges. And I might add, one of my friends was here in opposition to something that you were considering earlier, and I just talked to him on the way out, and he said, that would be fantastic to have the bank there. I said, can I say that for you? Do you authorize me to say that? So the Shoney's, I understand, has been vacant about 5 years, ever since COVID, and finally something is coming that's going to be an asset, very attractive corner, and they're willing to put a lot more landscaping in there than has ever been before. So Mr. Penley's here to answer any of your questions about their business and about this site in particular. But thank you. We appreciate your vote in support of this.
Hello, everyone. Chad Penley again, Real Estate Director for Fifth Third. Happy to answer any questions you have, but to an earlier comment about our negotiations, the Shoney's has been there for, I think, 4 or 5 years vacant. We started working on this probably about a year ago. Obviously, he was asking a very high number that some people are aware of, and over a year, we're able to lock it down, and we do have a signed lease with the landlord. So this is going to be one of our new prototypes that we're building all over the southeast. We do feel that this is a great location for us. We always are looking for the synergies with the daily needs, with the Publix and the Kroger. So we feel this is a great corner that we can clean it up. We're going to be adding probably better lighting. So you're going to have a much more secure area that you currently have now. Obviously, you got a hotel behind us. And we're just hoping that, with the lighting and the security of a bank, it's just going to be more secure area for this corner. So happy to answer any other questions, but, looking for your support to move forward. Again, we do have a signed lease. We are, currently in our due diligence. Depending on how long the permitting process would take here, we could start construction, late summer, early fall.
Thank you. Turn it over to the board for any questions or comments.
Mr. Chairman, just want to bring the record to the board. I'm not for or against it, but I do want to share with the board that naturally the bank, there's no tax revenue that comes with it other than property taxes, so it would never, for the remainder of the bank being there, there wouldn't be any tax advantages for us other than a property tax. Not trying to deter anybody, but I do need our board to understand that comes along with it.
I understand that, and we do get that question a lot, but this is going to be a very expensive build for us. So just on the property tax side, when you do your assessments, compared to what you have right now with the Shoney's and the value of we're going to improve, you're going to obviously have some increased property taxes here with our improvements.
That's all I have. I just wanted to share that. Like I said, not against.
There's no other places in Goodlettsville you'd consider?
No. So as I mentioned earlier, our strategy is always to be by, the grocery stores, with Kroger across the street, and Publix just down the street. We feel that this is the right location for us, and we could take advantage of, the customers that come there. And then also coming off the interstate, people going home, they could go to the bank or the grocery store, and we just feel it's like a really good location for us.
A couple of questions and statements. My eyes are just not what they used to be. How big a site is this site? Do you know the acreage of the site?
I think we're just about at an acre.
So it's about an acre, okay.
Yeah.
So if you had an acre somewhere else in the city that you could fit your your plan design on an acre?
Let me take that back. You happen to have that? You're right.
It's tiny.
It is small. I want to say it might be slightly less than an acre. But
You guys know how big that lot is?
I can look it up right quick.
Okay. And as far as the interchange zone, when you're driving on the interstate in Tennessee and you're coming up upon an exit, you start seeing these wonderful state signs that are green. No, they're blue. They're blue. And they tell you what restaurants are at the next exit, what hotels are at the next exit, what gas stations are at the next exit. Nowhere do they tell you what bank is at the next exit. And there's a reason for that. For the motoring world, they're not interested in that. They're interested in, where can I stop and get some gas? Where can I stop and sleep for the night? Where can I stop and get some food? And that's the purpose of this zone. It's what it's meant to do. It's why those uses are in it. This isn't next to the interstate, so, you know, maybe it's far enough away to consider something else. I wasn't part of the determination of where that zone started and ended when it was created. I wasn't here for that. But as far as an interchange zone, I don't want to change the interstate interchange zone to add this, because I don't want this in the interchange zone. I would be more apt to remove this from the interchange if I wanted this use here. And I'm not opposed to the use. And I think you're right from a traffic standpoint. You know, we were presented a car wash here before. And the traffic from a car wash would have been insane at this intersection, been absolutely insane. I think this is a much better fit from a traffic standpoint and from the time that people would be utilizing the services of the bank. The tax, I mean, that matters. I don't want to act like it doesn't. It does matter. I'm torn. I'll just say it, I'm torn. I don't know. But I must
I guess
admit,
the only comment to the exit, I mean, normally, you know, coming off an exit on an interstate, you wouldn't have like a Publix or a Kroger typically. I mean, normally you just have your QSRs and a couple gas stations, you kind of go down the road, but this is maybe a little unique where you do have the two, you know, big boxes, and it does serve the community as well as a draw for not only people getting off the exit, but also people living, you know, just down the street, that they're going to that Kroger and doing their, you know, their errands to get food or go to the bank or whatever they're doing. But, you know, that's probably a little different than a lot of exits.
yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. So I really, and I guess it's semantics, but I wouldn't want to change the rules of the zoning designation. I would only be interested in removing this from that zoning designation, because I don't want to see suddenly banks going in everywhere around our interchange. I have no interest in that whatsoever. No offense, please don't take offense. But I don't want that use everywhere. I think this would be, if we wanted this use, I think the better option would be to just take this lot out of the interchange zone. Okay.
What they're asking?
It's 1.12 acres, so.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
I'll just make the comment that I think our commercial space is limited with what we have, and to see it be taken away, nothing against, your bank looks great. I think in another part of the city outside of where you're trying to put it would be good, but I don't want to see giving up any more commercial space right now.
Anyone else?
I'm just in the same boat. I mean, it's a prime piece of real estate. The coffee shop next door is not what I was hoping for. I was hoping we would be able to combine the two parcels and make it what we would all hope for, a nice restaurant to come in there. I know obviously the Shoney's Corporation has not been, I don't know, not easy to work with maybe for future business, but I'd much rather see your building sitting there instead of an empty building. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. You know, we lose that corner, which I think is very vital to our area. Are you guys are you gonna build the building yourself and own it, or are you leasing it?
So we're in a ground lease. So long-term ground lease, we're gonna build it. So we'll be there for a long time.
Or worst case scenario, it don't work out and you lease the building out to somebody else?
Well, I mean, we could sublease it.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that could be an option.
Yeah, okay.
Just to be clear, Shoney's does not own this property. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think
they-
it's a local developer that's
Yeah.
had a lease with Shoney's and they went dark and.
Well, I'll rescind that comment then.
Okay.
For the board, I apologize.
No, that's fine. I just,
But the owner, whoever's making the financial decisions and trying to work, it's not, the numbers aren't working for the people who have shown interest.
Right, I know that you mentioned earlier, a car wash, I think, came in here, not for sure exactly what happened, whether it was a financial issue or just not the use you guys were looking for. He mentioned a restaurant that he was working with as well, but they just couldn't pay, what he was asking, so, we feel like we're in a good spot, on the financial side of it, but really anyone else coming into this market, and I run into a lot of these QSRs, I'm working on sites all over the southeast. I know that, they can pay nowhere close to what he's wanting to get for the property. So unfortunately, as you guys have seen, the Shoney's have been vacant for 4 or 5 years. I know at Seven Brew, kind of what they're paying, a lot of those QSRs, and again, it just isn't, if that's what you're looking for here, financially, I just don't know if they're gonna be able to get there.
okay. Any more questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion or entertain a motion. We could recommend to the city commission for approval of this amendment to the zoning ordinance. We could recommend denial to the city commission, or we could defer this request. So I'll leave it up to the board.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I was going to ask Mr. West, our Economic Growth Director, kind of what's your thoughts for the vision of our city and what you're dealing with future investors?
I'll just echo kind of everything that's been said tonight, especially when it comes, it's just tough prices right now, especially on the long haul corridor. Worked very hard with the neighboring property, Captain D's owner, tried to, combine those properties together. Just like was said, it's just the price points right now are just tough. Development's tough, cost of development, and then land cost in the area is just not, it's tough right now, especially those QSRs. If you got a site that's already level flat with a parking lot on it, it's a little easier for them to make it work. And so it's just, the best way that I think I could put it is it almost feels like we're in like a transition period right now of turning over some commercial buildings into some other commercial buildings, and there's a lot of interest in Goodlettsville because we go to events even outside of the state of Tennessee, and they know where we're at. They know the Long Hollow location, and they all know the Long Hollow location. We've been to many events, and Long Hollow gets brought up. It's just trying to make that work with the property owners right now and cost of development. So, yeah.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny this request. Do I have a second? Who's that? Mr. Gilmore seconds it. Any further discussions on the matter? Hearing none, all those in favor of denial say aye. Aye. Opposed? We have two opposed, Ms. Wheeler and Mr. McNeil. Is that correct? All right. Thank you. We would love to see you at another location. And
Unfortunately, based on our criteria, it just, you know, I'm not for sure. To be honest with you, yeah, this is where we want to be. So unfortunately, there just isn't going to be another option nearby. So.
all right. All right, thank you. We're ready for discussion items, so I'll just turn it over to Adam.
Do y'all want to go home? Two quick things. I'll start with the comprehensive plan. Part of the moratorium the city commission adopted in December was to, one, look at our zoning ordinances, and two, comprehensive plan process. So we're going to kick that off March 24th at 6 o'clock. It's here. It's going to be open to anyone in the public. That first meeting is going to be a kickoff, talk about why we're doing it and kind of look at our maps and kind of say some issues we've had. And also there's going to be a public survey. Sean Falzer is going to be working with us on the comprehensive plan, kind of on the side. He's got the survey ready. We're going to release that. I put the questions for the survey in y'all's packet just to let kind of see what we're all looking at. And the goal of the survey is it's not in-depth stuff. It's just trying to get people's general feelings about our comprehensive the plan and the growth in Goodlettsville. So I just want to kind of kick that off, and kind of the goal is to have the comprehensive plan adopted by December when the moratorium period's over. So it's a quick turnaround. A lot of cities take several years on that. And then also I put in y'all's packet on the other part of the moratorium was our ordinances. You know, we talked tonight in length about different things, we're talking about the aesthetics of homes. So I put in there a summary of all our requirements in our zoning ordinance on density, permitted high-density kind of uses, garage orientation, garage requirements, material requirements. So the goal is, I know we're not going to try to do all these in 1 month to do amendments, but I'm going to start bringing in amendments going forward to address the moratorium issues. And I put together a set of questions, like if I was on your all's where you're all sitting, what I would ask when we look at these amendments, and I'll go through these right quick, and we can talk about those items I put in y'all's packet. March should be a smaller agenda, so we can also continue it then. Also, the permitted uses. Right now, most of our residential uses are 1 and 2 family. That's going to be your house and your duplex. Those are 1 and 2 family detached. That means that they're by themselves. Attached, that's going to be more your townhouse type projects. Then you get into multifamily. That is when you get into your apartments, townhomes, those things. And densities in all our districts. I put in their packet, across our residential zone districts, we permit different densities, going anywhere from a unit per acre, a lot per acre, up to 40 units per acre. So I wanted y'all to be aware of those, where that's at. When we look at high density going forward, you know, there's certain uses in certain districts we don't really feel comfortable with anymore. And the low density planned unit development, it allows houses and duplexes. I don't think we've ever had one that has duplexes, but it's allowed use. You know, if we come to a meeting and there's a request that we don't feel comfortable with, kind of like with Allen Farms, we don't like the way their garage is, this is the time we put it in our ordinance and define it up front. That way you all have to not negotiate with people as we go forward. Minimum square footage, we do not have that in our planning developments right now. In our base zone districts, we do have minimum house size, but they're nowhere close to what we typically request. You know, we're looking at 1,000 to 1,500 square feet with garages. But in our planning development, you know, if the goal is for a house to be a certain size minimum you all want to see in a planning development, I say we define that and go forward with that. Review for attached garage. In our planning development right now, we don't necessarily require attached garage. Thing of the plan new development, though, is it's a master plan base. They're coming in. So I always tell people the chance of you getting approval without some kind of garage is zero. But if that's what we're expecting, we want to see that, where there is no, that negotiation, I say we define that. Garage orientation. Garage orientation affects residential design more than anything. That's your lot width. Like we talked about earlier, right, currently we allow up to a third be front-loaded, then we have different options. But if we do not feel comfortable going forward with the front-loaded option or the alley-loaded option, I've had some comments about that, then I say we take that out of our zoning ordinance. Materials, number 5 there. Right now, we require 50% brick or stone on all elevations. The secondary materials can be hardy board, split face block, of course, glass, ephes. You don't really see a lot of that in residential, or wood, or the cement fiberboard siding. We do require all the foundations now to be brick or stone. But if there's a request, we want to increase that to 75 to 85%. Like I said, if that's what we're going to expect with developments coming through, like 50% isn't good enough, we need to find what that number is. That's what it, yeah. Primary material. And then the last part would just, no, that's what it's for, it's discussion. But the last one, the minimum level commercial required. You know, we do mixed use projects in our regional center we have for the mall areas around the mall. There is minimum, in certain locations, there's minimum commercial requirements. But as far as our other commercial planning developments, where we do mixed use, we're just kind of in negotiation where we require commercial. And I think there's a lot of question about that, like the one that we saw on Conference Drive. We want to see a minimum required level of commercial. You know, when we have ordinances we have, and these developers read it, and they make up their ideas before they even contact me, typically. They'll make up their own ideas, and they come forward. I thought, well, I don't see that happening there. And a lot of times they want to pursue it even with our suggestion or not. So it defines what you're all expecting up front. You know, the board did the moratorium. There's some questions about the houses we saw with the Wind Ridge. We expect more than what our standards are now. I would say, you know, with our new subdivisions, we do require a lot more things that are high, a lot of cost, sidewalks both sides. We require a 3-inch road binder, which is great for the quality of the road, but it's a lot more cost. We do 24-inch road curbs on new streets. So, I mean, those kind of improvements are extensive costs that other projects in Goodlettsville haven't done. So just kind of be aware, when we require 80, 90% brick, say, those people are already probably paying $15,000 a lot more for those improvements we're requiring. I got to put that in there. There is a cost associated with these things. I know everybody wants more and more, but at some point it could be prohibitive that we'll see development, which I don't know if that's necessarily out of line what the intent with the moratorium was. So just be thinking about those things. We've been here a long time tonight, so if there's any questions, but I'll put this back on the agenda next month. We'll have a little more time to talk about it. But my goal is this summer to have our zoning ordinance updated to reflect these items. So.
What's next month look like?
We will have the mall, phase 2, Rivergate Mall. Remember we did that one last year. This is the second part. So we'll have that. It's made some local news already, but that's really it. And as far as new projects, there'll be a couple minor things, but that's the big item. So, but I'll put this back. But be thinking about what you all feel you want to see going forward with these new developments, and we'll define that. That's our expectation. So.
I like your comment where you say there's not a chance you can get this passed. Because
I try to be upfront with people.
it seems to be like, maybe not here lately, but it seems like for a long time, every month we had an accessory structure come up that didn't meet our standards, and we had to discuss it and be nice and say not.
And I always try, like I said, I always try to be upfront with people, give them exactly what I feel like is going to happen. But then again, I don't think you all want a staff member preventing people from coming before y'all either. So I try to always encourage them, You know, if that's something you feel comfortable, because that's what this board's for, it's a public board. Because we're talking about growth and development, people's properties. So there's always a good need for that. But I too to try to give them up front, you know, should be no surprises in their mind when it comes forward. But it is also good to have our expectations defined.
Well, I can tell you one thing I do not want, I really don't. I do not want two people owning property on one lot. That is all over the two tall and skinnies on one lot, it's all over Nashville. And it was fine, and I'm telling you, there is going to be a day of reckoning. And that day of reckoning is coming soon, because a lot of those properties are 15 years old now, and they're 25 years old, and the infrastructure's breaking down, and now you got one owner that has money, one owner that doesn't have money, and they're fighting
The horizontal property.
to deal with it. It's going to be
Oh, yeah.
absolute nightmare.
Especially all the stormwater.
Just in doing that here.
Yeah.
And if we want to put two houses on that lot, then build two lots. There's no reason to have one lot. It's weird. It was a dumb idea.
I don't know, honestly though, I don't know if by state law we can limit that. You know, we can limit the use of a property, but the ownership setup,
So if it's a duplex, they really can't say.
that's my understanding of state law, that if it's set up that way, the horizontal property, that's what referring to.
No one heard the question because nobody's talking in the microphone, so I'm not sure what was said.
The question, he said he wants to make sure, caution against us having any provision that allows, like the horizontal property, where you got one half-acre lot, but they do it where it's like 3 units, say, and they're all individually owned. So it's like a small condo association is what it is. But my understanding, Russell, it's something we look at. My understanding of the law, we can't really tell them how they own that property.
If the horizontal property regime is a state law that we have to abide by, that's one thing. But the city of Nashville, metropolitan government, whether you're in a R5, R7.5, R10, R15, R25, whatever it is, you can build two houses on that lot. And what they have created is an absolute nightmare scenario where all across Nashville, there are two homeowners on one lot. And that is perfectly fine while the infrastructure is fine. But the infrastructure is going to degrade over time. And as that time passes, and you have one property owner that has money and one property owner that doesn't have money, and they're going to be fighting over who's going to build what and why, and it's an absolutely, it really is a nightmare scenario that they have set up and put in place, and I don't want to do that here. I want to avoid that as much as we can.
I can't speak for everyone, I can't speak for our elected officials, but I don't think anyone here wants that either, and that's just my analysis of how I think they would feel. So it's something to be taken consideration as we sit back, push the pause button, the reset button, and figure out what we want Goodlettsville to look like and move forward and get to a point where we're not having to have public negotiations in a meeting so that we know what standards are, and that's what it is.
Perfect.
Any other questions, comments before we adjourn?
I'm just trying to, no, maybe still going. Maybe still going. I would go ahead and turn it. Get up early. I think that's.